some reason, I clicked the wrong intro.
That's okay.
That
It still works.
It doesn't work, but it's okay. I accidentally hit the unwatched pile video. It's all right. But this is chasing labels. If you're confused,
Steven, it sounds like you're a bit confused.
Well, you know what? I was in a tizzy. I was in a. I quickly remembered I needed to pull up the video to intro this show that we're about to start, and instead I waited to the last minute and I clicked the wrong thing. It's fine.
It's fine. The music still sounds just as good.
It's still good sounding music, yeah. But here we are, back on another episode of Chasing Labels. I'm Stephen Billings, and with me as always, Andrew Cabral. What's up, man?
What's up? What's up? How you doing on this day?
Well, I'm coming back from vacation. I was on vacation last week. Didn't go anywhere, of course, but it's always maybe that's part of why I'm just in a tizzy, because I'm just getting back to the normal routine of having to work to get by in this world. Yeah, you're
a little off your game, but I feel like you're gonna right the ship as we go along.
Oh, we're gonna change this shit. This is gonna be an episode, guys. I even got my my mug given to us by the gracious Chris McKay, the Renfield that I got from
mine
him.
Too. I was wondering.
Yeah, I'm using mine. So
yeah, mine's still wrapped in bubble wrap the way it came, because I just don't want to break it or use it.
Well,
I got that one.
Suck it up, bitch.
I got the one from Imprint, the one that has the gambler on it.
Yeah, I got that too.
I got that on my a movie shelf over there, more like a prop than anything.
Yeah.
Nicely done. What are you drinking?
Coffee, because if I didn't,
makes sense.
That's part of the reason I'm flustered. That I'm just and it's not that I'm necessarily tired, but I ate like almost a whole pizza. Like about an hour ago, like I ate like 6 slices of pizza, and so I'm like on a fat person high right now.
I got a little confession to make to you, I guess to our audience. Every time before we record, I eat dinner about 2 hours beforehand. Yeah. So when I get to the show, I'm a little. You get that little like
breakfast.
Post eat. Don't give my secrets away, Stephen. Don't give my secrets away.
Mr. Disconnected Ryan, of course, popping in saying, "Yeah, you were. Yeah, I know. Yeah, got to reschedule with you. Yes, I do. I do got to reschedule with you. I can't say what it is, but I'm doing a video with Ryan about some cool stuff. He's got he's recording like 1,000 videos that he's gonna release at some point, and I'm gonna be on one of them. So
we're going to be doing our unwatched pile video. Speaking of which, next Monday, live here. So I figured to talk about that right now.
Yeah, next unwatched pile will be with Mr. Tony Meachus from over at the Indicator Imprint cast. Yeah, he's been on Chasing Labels before. He's him and John over there. Almost forgot his name for a second.
I'm glad you remember, because my brain just draws a blank when it comes to names.
Yeah. Tony. Yeah, Tony's popping in, man. Tony's popping in. Yeah, we're gonna bring him on. I believe he's, if I'm remembering, he told me he's gonna watch a Bergman film.
Oh,
as part of his unwatched pile. So
I'm wondering which one. Now it got me intrigued.
I know, but I don't know offhand. I don't want to give it away.
Don't give it away yet. Don't give it away yet.
Yeah, he loves that dude. God, okay, Ryan, we get it. You like Tony. Jesus, calm down.
I can't tell if Ryan's talking about Ingmar Bergman or Tony. Maybe both.
I'm thinking it's both. He loves Bergman and Tony the same amount.
Nice.
Because yeah, I have nothing else to say other than I need to drink some more coffee.
There you go. But this is Chasing Labels, episode number 135, spy number 135.
Well, are you ever going to commit to that? Like, just say spy number.
I like to cover both bases.
Why?
I don't know. It feels like, I guess maybe regular people discovering the show will think episode, and then cinephiles will think spy number. It'll go to Criterion. It'll go to other boutique labels that use spy number.
We've chosen as a boutique label podcast that we are one of the podcasts that spy numbers itself.
We are true. That is true.
I'm just
Committed.
kidding. It doesn't matter.
Very non-committal. Indifferent, I think, is the fancier term when it comes to things. I like to cover
You
everything.
need to have conviction on something, man.
Very
Have
true.
conviction on the spine number of the show. But you know what we can have some convictions about right now is before we get into Blu-ray announcements, let's talk just a tad bit about the Oscars. We obviously it happened a couple weeks ago, and you're finally here to we can talk about it a little bit. I don't want to get into it too deep because that's not what we do here. But
right.
But of course, we love movies, and we love even though I'm not like super like, oh man, Oscars are everything. I enjoy the show, and I actually watched the whole show this year. So usually I don't typically watch it at all. So I was excited because I am a Nolan fan. I love Nolan's films, and I was excited to finally see him win.
Speaking of which, I have
the
big winner of the evening.
Yeah,
of that night was Oppenheimer. Winning Best Picture, winning Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, as well as some other awards that are just completely blanking.
Well,
I have it seemed like Nolan finally got his due.
He finally got his due. And, you know how it is. Like a lot of times when a director that you feel like has already maybe earned it finally gets it. I mean, obviously he didn't have to wait as long as somebody like a Scorsese, where he like went his whole career and and finally with a movie that I think some would consider lesser works than some of his earlier works, finally winning. In this case, Oppenheimer's a great film. I do think it's not his best movie. I think I still think something like even Dunkirk was maybe better. But I mean, my favorite of his films is probably Inception because it's his most unique film.
I know many consider, obviously his Batman trilogy, Dark Knight,
sure,
changed the genre.
Dark Knight is great too.
The Prestige, my affinity towards Interstellar.
Yeah.
Even like you said, Dunkirk was fantastic. It's nice to see, I guess, someone who's been successful or very much in the zeitgeist for so long gets some type of recognition. I think the Oscars are always looking to be more mainstreamy now than ever. And I guess this is kind of their most mainstream pick that they've had in years in terms of celebrating an artist and movie that was seen by many, or more than usually watch these Oscar films.
I think they've obviously tried to make sure that. I mean, who knows how the voting really goes down, but it's like they always try to make sure that every category, like it used to be that there could be one movie that swept a lot of the main stuff. Like now you don't really see that much anymore. You see like something that wins best screenplay doesn't win best picture anymore. Like it doesn't matter. Like that, like editing doesn't always, even though people would consider best edited movie, maybe should be best picture. That doesn't always line up. Because they're trying to, spread the love. And I like that. I like that they're spreading the love more, but it's kind of hard. Awards are hard, man.
They're also never the end all be all of.
They're not
quality of movie or anything like that. I think people kind of confuse the two sometimes, or they blur the lines the two. It really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. It's mostly fun, to be honest.
It is.
To predict who's going to win.
Yeah.
What's going to win. How the award season goes in terms of what movie's hot versus what movie's cooling off. All this kind of stuff.
Well, I know what my favorite win of the night was, but what was your favorite the win?
Oh, favorite win? Nolan winning for directing was really good.
A big deal. Yeah.
I have to go back and actually look at the list.
While you're
not going to do that right now, but
mine's for sure Emma Stone winning best.
Oh, yeah. You know what? That was the most surprising moment of the night.
That was part of the reason why I liked it so much. But because I was talking to my wife, I was on the couch. I was like, all right, so I was like, well, this is going to go to
Lily Gladstone.
Lily Gladstone. I was like, it's kind of been pretty like. It's been feeling like that's basically a lock. Everybody kind of felt like that it's going to her, and that there was no reason to think about anybody else really. And then they said Emma Stone, and I was like, holy shit! Like I popped up, I was like, holy shit! I was like, wow. And this is how I feel about it. I mean, like I think Lily Gladstone was fantastic in that movie. I don't like that movie that much, so I think for me, it's pretty easy for me to like, in a biased way, not. I mean, I just think Emma Stone was just so fucking great. Like for once, taking politics out of it, just the best performance to me personally was awarded the best.
Yeah, it's very interesting that you say that, just because I think all of the momentum was in Lily Gladstone's favor.
Yeah.
If you follow the award season closely or not at all, if someone wins certain awards, the indications are there that they're going to win the Oscar. You know what I mean? Whether it be SAG, whether it be the Golden Globe really doesn't factor into, but usually the Guild Awards, SAG, and stuff like that. And she was pretty much the front runner, like you said, Stephen, and that's why the Emma Stone was so surprising. For me, best one of the night was probably Godzilla winning for best visual effects. Because they got everybody went up there. They all had Godzilla action figures and stuff that they carried throughout the red carpet ceremony and all that kind of stuff. And just to see a Godzilla movie win an Oscar for the first time ever, I think, was kind of incredible,
fun,
unprecedented. For anyone keeping track at home, the movies have pretty much been coming out rather consistently since 1954, and he's never won anything for any of those movies, and those movies are still so iconic. You know what I mean? Even the bad ones people remember, I'm hoping we get more of those on Blu-ray sometime soon. I know we got a good amount of them, but I'm talking some more stuff. We got the Showa era set from Criterion, which I have and many other people have. I would love them to put out the other ones like Heisei and then the modern era and all that kind of stuff. That would be cool. But yeah, that was a pretty great moment.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was a pretty solid show. I mean, I think, Jimmy Fallon, what's his name?
Jimmy Kimmel.
Was fun. I mean, he's just a fill-in. I mean, like, that's the thing, is finding the right balance. It would have been nice to have maybe a host that was a little bit more interesting. He just kept making kind of really low-hanging fruit jokes. The best joke of the night was the one that's one of the most controversial ones to me, which was when he made the whole drug joke about Robert Downey Jr. I thought that was hilarious, but everybody else is like,
it landed very poorly. Like, I think everyone in the room just didn't know how to react.
That's because they're all wusses. Come on, man. Robert Downey Jr. probably thought that was hilarious. I mean, come on. Like,
I don't know. It seems like such an old reference by this point when it comes to Robert Downey Jr. It's like everyone knows about his past.
Exactly.
Everyone knows about his.
Well, you have to bring it up on the night where we know he's about to finally win an Oscar.
Yeah, which he did win, which he did win. I think rightfully so.
I don't know. I thought that was to me, most jokes were pretty bad the whole night, but
I mean, Jimmy Kimmel is, like you said, he's the safer host. Things are going to run smoothly for the most part. Other than that whole, La La Land Moonlight debacle from a few years ago, which wasn't his fault.
No.
So it's not like he was the reason why that happened.
Actually, the best part of the night was the John Cena thing.
Oh, you like the John Cena joke? I thought it was actually done really well because it was a reference to
an old
the
Oscar
streaker from like 40 years ago, 50 years ago? I think it was 50 years ago, 1974, where streaker came on the stage. Yeah, and I was like, I know they set it up like it was going to happen, but then they kind of played it in a different way.
Yeah, they did a great job. I thought that was a fun thing, and there was a couple good hosts too, presenters that were like the Schwarzenegger, DeVito.
That was a good one.
That was a good one.
That was the Godzilla one. They presented for best visual effects for Godzilla.
Yeah. And then the moment with Keaton,
Keaton there, the little Keaton back and forth there. I think he presented as well.
He did. Him and somebody, Catherine O'Hara, because they're going to be in Beetlejuice, of course.
That's what it was, because they were promoting Beetlejuice 2, which is coming out in September.
Yeah. So it was overall it was a pretty solid show, and they of course got it done. They bragged about how they got it done in under 3.5 hours.
Okay. In fairness, it started an hour earlier than usual. It started at 7, ended at 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. It usually goes from about 8 to past 11
midnight.
So if anything, it worked out better in terms of timing and things like that.
No, I think it was it was better timing for everybody to watch it. And it ended well. And I know that the Best Picture Al Pacino thing was really weird. Like, they didn't want to. They didn't want him to say all of the names of all the movies again because they had already brought him up throughout the whole
They
show.
presented them throughout the show.
But he still fucking botched that shit. Like, he was like, I guess best
Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer? He acted
no
like
one knew how to react. It's like, did he just was he saying
there was no build-up at all. There was no build. I'm like, dude, what the hell? Like, you could have done this still way better than the way you did.
I'm curious if they had like because usually they have rehearsal stuff before the show. Did
it
they
felt
not
like he
rehearse
just
this
pulled
with
him
you?
out of the audience. He was half drunk and he just got pulled up there. That's what it felt like.
Maybe they just pulled him out of the audience.
No.
Whatever the case is, fix that next year. You know, at least.
Yeah.
The one thing they did botch horrifically, which they did last time too, was the in memoriam. I don't know whose idea it is to have it done like that, but they've got to just go back to the way it was. Like, just, full screen, the pictures, the names, all that stuff. I don't need to see people singing. I don't need to see people dancing. It's not a show. It's an in memoriam. I don't know what they're doing. And the fact that they don't show everyone, which I understand you can't show everyone, but then at the end they're just like, go to our website to see all the rest of the names. It feels so, uncivilized, so
I get it.
disrespectful in a way, but unintentionally.
Yeah.
It's done for timing and things like that.
I get it.
But,
I get it. It didn't bother me necessarily in the moment, but I could see how it could bother somebody.
Well, you couldn't see when you were watching on the television. They had a wide shot of the stage the whole time.
Yeah.
Of like people performing, and then the screen was in like behind them. Yeah. So even then, if you have poor eye vision or a small television or a small screen, whatever you were watching it on, you couldn't see the names of the people in the pictures. I mean, that was the whole point of it all. Yeah. Also, you got to make this thing available to more people. Like available free to stream or to stream on more platforms or something like that, because I saw so many people scrambling at the last second to figure out how to watch it and where to watch it.
I had to do a free trial of YouTube TV.
A lot of people had to do something like that because it wasn't available anyplace else, or that was the only way you could get ABC for streaming or something like that.
I'm surprised they didn't just stream it live on Disney Plus. Like,
I was wondering that as well. Like, I thought people who had Disney Plus or even Hulu access could stream it live. I mean, heck.
Well, I mean, if you have Hulu Live, you do get it live. But it's,
okay.
But if like, I don't pay for Hulu Live. That's essentially like paying for cable. Like, I don't want a whole subscription for TV to watch, one show. I was hoping that it was going to essentially fall on Disney Plus because it's their show. Why not?
Disney owns ABC.
Yeah, I mean, they could have just streamed it there, but instead they're making you have to find a way to do it in a different way, and it's, I don't know. But to move past it, I enjoyed it for the most part. I think most of the wins were all deserving. I mean, it felt good, like a good show, and we got some comments here.
We do.
Of course, Josephine's popped in, says happy belated St. Patrick's Day. Thank you. I didn't wear any green that day, and I didn't get pinched, so I guess I got lucky.
Are you Irish, Stephen?
Why would you ask that?
I don't know. Because I'm not.
Because I got a reddish tint to my beard.
No. I just was curious.
That's a little bit racist. All right. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, I do have a higher Irish heritage, but it's not very dense. It's very way back there. But then also said, Andrew, I know you're Portuguese, but one of my coworkers just vacationed in Portugal.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. Let me know where.
Yeah. She goes on to say she went to Universal for vacation herself. So that's nice. I've been there. It's nice. But we got some more down here. Let's see some of our regulars here. Totally agree with them. Yeah.
I'm not the only one.
Yeah, you're not the only one, man. All right. So with that all out of the way, let's get into our weekly announcements. We want to start with, didn't you say there was something you wanted to particularly talk about?
Yeah, there was some news that came out this week. And
yes.
Of course, as I'm scrolling through it, I can't find it.
The MVD.
But I know it off the top of my head. So once again, our buddy Eric Wilkinson over at MVD had some news come out about another partnership that they have, distribution deal with Altered Innocence. Altered Innocence, of course,
love Altered Innocence. Speaking of that, shout out to Ryan at Disconnected. He just did an interview with the guy, the main guy over there. I'm blanking on his name for some reason.
I think it's actually in the article. It's in the
Well,
article.
I'm gonna know it here in just a second.
Okay. But anywho, everyone knows Altered Innocence being a partner label over at Vinegar Syndrome, one of their better partner labels. I just picked up The Wounded Man. I think I talked about this on one of our Unwatched podcasts.
Frank Jaffe.
That's who it is.
That's it.
So I just speaking of Innocence, I just picked this up about a month ago.
Love that movie.
So I've got some Altered Innocence in my piles around me, and they're teaming up for a distribution deal. And they did announce a couple of first release that they were going to go through, of course, that they were going to be putting out beforehand. One is a box set, one is an individual release. I will get it to you.
Okay, thanks, man.
Yeah, I just can't find the article because it's happened like a week ago.
Yeah,
and I thought I shared it in our Facebook group, but now that I go to the Facebook group, it's not there. Unless I didn't scroll down far enough, which is probably the case.
But
oh, here it is. I'm an idiot. So yes, Alternates and MVD group team up, and it's releases here. Upcoming releases include She Is Conan, and then a box set of Francois Ozon's transgressive triple box set of sitcom Criminal Lovers and Water Drops on Burning Rocks.
Cool, man.
Yeah, I'm not sure when these are coming out. I think May. Looks like May.
We're obviously both. We talk about them as much as we can. We're big fans. We both love coming of age stories, and they tend to fall on that a lot of coming of age stories in their catalog. And yeah, big fan. Got a lot of their stuff on my shelf. Yeah, I mean MVD's just seems to be the distribution center for a lot of labels looking for more US distribution. So that's cool.
Or wider distribution, or distribution in general. Because I think we had heard that Altered Innocence was breaking away from the partner labels.
I believe so.
Over Vinegar Syndrome.
Yeah.
Similar to how Fun City had done previously and a couple others. So yeah, of course, we'll continue to talk about Altered Innocence and all that kind of stuff. I'm definitely interested in these releases when they come out. I put them on my watch list for this week, but there was just a ton of stuff that had been announced over the last 2 weeks from so many major labels that we'll dive into as we go along. But yeah, that was kind of something we wanted to bring up.
Yeah. I love it. I love seeing, I mean, like, obviously I love Vinegar Syndrome, the partner label stuff, but I like seeing that. What I like about the partner label section of Vinegar Syndrome is that it's a great starter. Like, it's like a lot of these labels need a way in, need a good place to be like pushed and like seen. And then once they get to a certain point, they can kind of leave the nest, and then more partner labels can come in,
we've seen that happen. Yeah. We've seen some come and go. I think that website, if anything, has become a major hub of just, like you said, Steven, eyeballs and activity. You know what I mean? We'll talk a little bit more about some Vinegar Syndrome stuff because they had their halfway to their halfway sale.
The pre-order to the halfway Black Friday flat. Yeah.
Basically, their halfway to Black Friday sale is happening in a couple of months, and this was the pre-order / reveal of a couple of their titles that they're going to have available to buy then, but you could have pre-ordered them this weekend. But we'll get into that relatively soon.
I think that actually goes off tonight at midnight. Like that's
does it? I thought it was over already.
I think it's tonight at midnight, yeah. But all right, well, where do you want to start?
Let's go to Kino, just because I have them first up on my list.
All right.
And I like to do things in order.
I know. Every time I try to go out of order, I can see how uncomfortable
it drives me crazy.
Yeah, I know.
So they've got a few announcements. The first one here is actually a nice surprise. It's a nice surprise because there was a Blu-ray put out of this movie a few years ago that apparently was not very good, so I'd never bought it. And this is the movie Hatari, starring John Wayne. Directed by Howard Hawks.
Yes.
And it's a movie that I had never seen. It is a 2.5-hour film. Does it need to be 2.5 hours? Perhaps not. But it's a movie that I had heard about for years. I'd seen the poster many times, and it's basically just John Wayne like yelling. That's the poster of the movie. So I'm like, what is this movie? And of
channeling
course, it's Howard Hawks.
channeling Lee J. Cobb or something.
I guess so, or maybe just like yelling at somebody. So I had not seen the movie for years, and it came out in 1962. Howard Hawks, like I said, Red River was the Howard Hawks and um, John Wayne team up from before, which I've had on from Criterion for many years. It's a big thick set with like a book in it and stuff. It's right on my shelf.
Yeah.
Takes up a lot of shelf space, that bad boy does.
Yeah.
So the premise of the movie is a female wildlife photographer arrives on an East African reservation where a group of men trap wild animals for zoos and circuses. And that's kind of the movie. John Wayne kind of runs or works on this safari type thing in Africa, in Tanzania. I think they shot in Tanzania. And the movie, everyone says, is kind of an excuse for Howard Hawks and John Wayne to take a vacation in Africa, I guess.
And some of them actors, like the team ups of that time, it starts to feel like that, they're looking for a reason to like hang out and go somewhere cool.
That reminds me of John Ford and John Wayne doing A Quiet Man.
Yeah.
Where they basically, they shot in Ireland, and it's kind of like a vacation, I guess. I mean, there's also been things now. Oh, Adam Sandler, where he does these movies to just go on vacation, cool
got
places and whatnot.
all them damn Netflix money.
He's got the Netflix
which
money.
tropical island can we do our next movie?
Yeah, like what can we go? How can we make a movie that's set like on a vacation somewhere where we get into shenanigans, but the vacation spot happens to be a nice place.
and then along with that, who is the next attractive female that in real life I could never get, but will now be my wife?
Who was it in Anger Management? Was it Kate Beckinsale, or was that Click?
No, was that Kate Beckinsale?
I think it was Kate Beckinsale.
It might have been. But he has like the craziest amount of girlfriends / wives, like Drew Barrymore, of course.
Well, yeah, in
times and like
in Grown Ups, it's Salma Hayek.
Like, come on now.
Yeah, in Kate Beckinsale is Click. I wasn't.
It's Click. Okay, yeah,
it is Click, and of course Jennifer Aniston, Drew Barrymore. I mean, apparently he's great to work with from what I've heard.
Apparently, he really believes in the idea that if you're funny, any woman can love any.
Which is a very nice sentiment. It's nice, very beautiful.
Sure.
But yeah, so notorious Adam Sandler is kind of the modern day version of like doing vacation spots and to make movies and stuff, which is kind of cool. You might as well. Heck, if I'm gonna be working, I might as well work in a nice place where I want to wake up every day and go to set and
even
see lagoons.
Even the crew, I'm sure, enjoys being in a cool place.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So what was I saying? Oh yeah. So this takes place in that African setting, and what happens is, of course, it's an atmosphere that's entirely dominated by men, run by men, and then a woman comes into the atmosphere and changes things up. Things change, and they don't think that she can handle the harshness of doing the job, or being around this job, being around this element in this area. And of course she proves them all wrong. She has like a romance with the John Wayne character that starts out antagonistic, but of course softens up to be more more romantic to a certain extent. But it's a fine movie. I don't think it's particularly great. I think the atmosphere and the location looks amazing, but it's just them kind of like going on different trips to catch animals. That's kind of the plot of the movie, and it's mostly the interaction between the characters and all that kind of stuff. You have a bunch of nice character actors in it as well. And it's directed very well by Howard Hawks. I can't go too wrong with a Howard Hawks film.
I love the tagline on this. Wayne means adventure.
Yes.
Does it mean really? What Wayne?
Yeah, there's a lot of adventure going on here. So yeah, it's a fine movie. But I did want to mention that years ago there was a Blu-ray release put out. I want to say actually there was 2 Blu-rays put out. They were both terrible. Warner Brothers put it out in 2014, and it notoriously looked really bad. 2017 Paramount. Same exact disc, just different artwork, and um, look just as bad. So if anything, this is a 4K UHD release. I'm
Yeah,
hoping this looks really good.
it should. Yeah,
I mean, I think it should. It definitely going to add it to my Howard Hawks section. So there was that from Kino, and then what else did I mention? Couple of
the visitors.
Yes, The Visitors, which they had just announced yesterday. This is a Eli Kazan film from
Yeah,
1972 starring James Woods, and I think it's James Woods' first film. I
really.
think. Don't quote me on that. And this movie is way different than what I thought it was going to be. And it's way different than I was expecting from an Eli Kazan film. So James Woods is a Vietnam veteran, and he and his girlfriend and their baby like live off in like the countryside in Connecticut, I think, and this giant piece of land. And then one day, uh, two of his ex platoon mates from Vietnam come to visit him out of the blue, and turns out a lot of stuff from the past comes to light about a court martial, about him uh, doing some things that may have put these people in prison. What were those things? What happened? All of that kind of comes to light. And why are these guys here? Do they want revenge? Do they forgive him? What is going on? The issue I have with this movie is that it's very slowly paced,
Mm.
rather meandering at times, and it sounds on paper like it could be very interesting, like a really interesting retrospective look at perhaps saying things about the Vietnam experience, perhaps saying things about Army veterans, stuff like that. And it really doesn't go to those places. It
Mm.
kind of just meanders into like people sitting around a room and mumbling. That,
Mm.
that that happens a lot, and it's the version I watch, which I think you can watch it on Tubi, looked like maybe an old DVD rendering of the film, and it was super grainy, super dark. It wasn't really of high quality, and it just kind of made the whole thing look very dour and damper, which makes sense for the subject matter. But I was kind of hoping for a little bit more in it. It felt like Eli Kazan trying to do a gritty 1970s film about Vietnam. Like
Mm.
I thought it was kind of had the same vein of like Sam Peckinpah's Straw Dogs. Like
Yeah.
it tried to be that level of grit and grime in it, but from Eli Kazan, which I
Mm.
thought like kind of just didn't quite mesh with one another. And the ending you can kind of see coming a mile away, and it kind of just ends, and it's like, "Oh, that's it? That's all we're getting here." And then
Well,
that was it.
by
Um,
this time, Eli Kazan had this is like way later in his career, right?
yeah,
This is like
late career
yeah,
'cause
this of course, On the Waterfront was like in the 50s. Like
yes.
that's like that's he's 20 plus years into his career at this point. So I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of later Kazan.
Yeah, this is his second to last film.
Yeah.
The last film he did was The Last Tycoon with, Robert De Niro,
I was
which
gonna say they had a release, and
yeah,
you
came
said you
out
said
on
it wasn't
Blu-ray.
that great.
Yeah, it just came out what did it come out, like, late last year? I just
Yeah.
added it to my, like, wish list on Orbit DVD
But
because I
didn't you
wanna
say you
get it.
didn't like it?
I liked it enough. Um,
You said it
it's
was like
not like I said,
it's
it's
way
not
too fucking
great.
long.
It's okay. Like, it's kind of middling, I think.
So this is just about
This is in that range,
directorification.
but I think less enjoyable of a watch because it felt so kind of grueling to get through.
Yeah.
Whereas The Last Tycoon was obviously about, like, movie making, about the business. It had Robert De Niro in it in the '70s, who was I mean, he's always
He was
really been at the top
yeah.
of his game for the most part, but back then he was the man, you know?
So,
Um,
so this is more about you completing a director.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is, Steven. How
See,
did you guess
I
that? Damn.
I
You
know how you
in
think.
my
See,
disguise.
it's as much as a crazy buying I have, you have some like
I've got s
you
yeah,
justify your buys too with reasons, just as I do,
yeah, very much so.
even when you don't like the movie.
Yeah,
So,
but when it's even a movie that I'm kind of iffy on, I'll wait until I can find it for a price I'm happy with adding it to the collection. Like, I want this because I gotta complete my Eli Kazan, section of my collection, but I won't buy it right away. Like,
sure.
I'll buy The Last Tycoon before I buy this.
You buy it last before you buy it first.
I guess that's true. I guess
But
that's true.
yeah, I guess. But there's another Kino. I think you had one more in here you wanted to bring up.
Yeah, late yesterday, they announced that they're gonna release, um, the Jean-Luc Godard film Alphaville on
Yeah.
4K UHD, from the master by Studio Canal. Studio Canal, I think, has already put this out in 4K. And the reason why I wanted to add this is because one, it's a Godard film I haven't seen. I've never had it in my collection. I've never watched it. And they've had it on Blu-ray available from Kino for a very long time, and now I'm glad I waited. I saw somebody comment on it that they had it in their cart this whole time, and now they're lucky they never pulled the trigger on it. And in a way, I'm the same way. Yeah, it's one of those ones that's just been around from Godard for a while and available. I just never watched it.
Well, Godard's it's like Bergman. It's like a little intimidating to want to like get into him because you got to be in the certain headspace. I feel like I've watched a few of his films and varying degrees of like and dislike. Like it's I like Breathless. I think actually Breathless for me has gotten better the more I've watched it.
Yeah,
for me.
I like 60s Godard. I don't think I've actually ever ventured quite far out of 60s Godard.
Yeah,
which is kind of like his
Sweet
time.
spot.
Like you mentioned,
Yeah.
Breathless, Vive sa vie, A Band Apart, Pierrot Le Faux, which has a Criterion Blu-ray. I've been wanting to buy at like every sale for like the last 2 to 3 years, and I just haven't yet. And I even A Woman is a Woman, I think is another one that I think was only on DVD. What was that one? It was like America USA or something like that. It was only available on DVD as well. Basically, I want some 60s Godard. Godard is still around, still making movies, actually. I think one of his movies won the Palme d'Or like several years ago, probably over a decade ago. And I think he kind of laughed it off because that just seems like him. I have wavered on Godard over the last several years. Just because apparently he's not that nice of a guy, and he treated Agnes Varda pretty terribly towards the end. I don't know if you ever saw that documentary she did a few years ago, the one that was nominated for an Oscar right before she passed.
No.
She was supposed to meet him, and he just kind of spurred her off, and that just made me kind of hate him even more. But yeah, Alphaville is one I've always wanted.
I mean, it looks like it's right up our alley. We both like noir. It looks like a noir, type of something in that.
Yeah.
realm.
A U.S. secret agent is sent to the distant space city of Alphaville, where he must find a missing person and free the city from its tyrannical rule.
And that sounds like something they would make today, or something. Some big big budget sci-fi movie. But
yes,
no, it's
Anna Karina is in it, and she's wonderful. She worked with Godard a lot back in the 60s. I love her Criterion Closet video.
Yeah.
Where she talks about working with Godard, meeting him for the first time and stuff like that. This was from years ago before she passed. I don't know if you've been keeping up with those Criterion Closet videos, but they're putting out one like every week now. It's
I noticed
awesome.
I noticed that a lot have been coming out, but I don't watch them. I just for some reason I haven't found time to sit down and take a look because there's been some good ones.
Vim Wenders just did one, and he had done one years ago before. Like this was before they were even really putting out Blu-rays. He was in their closet. It was one of the first videos I think they ever did, and he just did one. Like they just put one out with them last week, and he just goes in there and just loads up on stuff. And it's like, yeah, you do that. You do that. If you're in the closet, you should be able to get anything you want in there. They should be sending you stuff.
Well, Vin Wenders can get whatever he wants. He's given enough to cinema.
That's very true. His newest film is fantastic.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Question: do we both have 4K players? All region 4K players.
I do not have an all region 4K player. I have an all region Blu-ray player.
Yeah, me too. I don't have a 4K.
Reason being is because 4Ks are typically region free for the most part. Some of them, they've been sneaking some region locked 4Ks out there, which have been really frustrating. Whether they're doing it intentionally or unintentionally, it's kind of annoying. There was a 4K release of Killers of the Flower Moon that I think was region locked to France. I think it was a steelbook, which is unfortunate. Just because I don't know when we're ever going to get Killers of the Flower Moon here. I'm thinking it's going to happen. More likely than not,
it'll be a Criterion. It will.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
A lot of the new Scorsese has been going to Criterion. So I think that's in the plans.
Well, I've got The Irishman right next to me because I've been trying to rewatch it for like the last 3 months.
It's not a really rewatchable movie.
I almost put it on last night at like 1:00 in the morning, and I'm like,
not a rewatch.
should I do it?
Not a rewatchable movie, man.
You and I both differ, I think, on
Yeah, we do.
this. A friend of mine's watched it like 5 or 6 times
I don't get it.
because he brings it up and he quotes it all the time, and I was like, "How many times have you seen the movie?" And he's like, "Oh, 5 or 6 times." And I was like, "Wow, all right then. All
I
right then."
couldn't get. I honestly, I know it's like it's like immature or something, but I just can't get past the bad face replacement shit that they did. Like, it's
The
just so
de-aging?
bad. The de-aging is so bad in that movie. It's embarrassing. The scene where he's stomping on the guy in the
That's
street.
the one that bothers me. Everything else is
He
kind of
looks like
fine.
an old man, even though he's supposed to be in his 20s. He looks like an old man stomping on a guy.
Yeah, at that point, I'm just surprised they didn't use the body double to
They
do that
just
scene.
yeah, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like,
Use a body double and I guess, deep fake Robert De Niro's face onto him or something,
part of me
or
almost
even shoot it in a way where you don't see his face because it is
yeah,
a stomping scene. You could have the overhead shot of like the back of somebody like stomping on someone as opposed to
exactly.
the undershot of looking up at somebody the way Scorsese did it. Um, yeah, there were ways to hide it, I guess. I don't know.
It's a waste of fucking I don't know. I don't wanna get into that, but,
I don't know. I'm just
yeah,
saying
yeah,
I don't know if Killers of the Flower Moon is gonna get a release anytime soon because Apple stuff. Heck, we're still waiting on Coda, and Coda
yeah,
won Best Picture.
yeah, well,
We're not
yeah,
getting it.
not that it'll be anytime soon, but I think they'll get around to it. I'm sure Scorsese wants it on physical media, and it was probably part of the deal to make the movie. Like, it was probably it's gonna happen eventually.
Right,
Um,
right.
but,
But Steven,
but
I think you're in the same position as I do, where you have a region-free Blu-ray player.
Yeah, I have a Blu-ray. I would love to get a 4K one eventually because I mean, 4K player will help upscale some of the Blu-ray stuff. It help bring out better image in the Blu-rays. So, yeah, I mean, I want one eventually, but for now, yeah, I'm like you. I just have a
Yeah, I
Blu-ray.
switch back and forth. Like I basically, if I want to watch
Yeah,
something that's region B, I switch to that player. If I want to watch something region A, I switch to my 4K player.
yeah,
That's kind of how I roll.
yeah,
Um, and we're fortunate enough right now, I think, to where a lot of stuff is coming out both here and region B area. A lot of the Arrow stuff seems to go both places. A lot of the Indicator stuff seems to go both places. It's usually mostly Eureka and BFI and Studio Canal is usually stuck in region B area, I think.
yeah, yeah. Some labels stay strictly in their region. They don't have the ability to get licensing, or maybe they like the movies that they get, they just can't. They can't get both. They can't get the region A because somebody already else has it.
Yep.
So it's just how it is. But um, just to throw you off because I like to do this to upset
Nice.
you. I'm going to throw in something that usually we wouldn't talk about real quick. Just because I was really interested in this, and it was something that popped out from Imprint, and that is a TV series
I know where
called
you're going.
The Prisoner.
There you
Now
go.
I posted about this, because I saw somebody, well, one of our regulars posted in there and said, about this release, which is the TV series from 1968 called The Prisoner. It's the complete series, and or 1967, my bad. And it's about this secret agent this spy who retires, but in retiring he gets abducted by the same thing he worked for, and they want to know why he retired. Like, they want to know what information he has, what's the reason. And so he goes, like, the whole series is this thing of them trying to extract this information from him in different ways. And he gets taken to this like small community where he has to like live, and you don't know where this community is. He keeps trying to escape. It's this like weird kind of like, I guess you would call it kind of a mini series because it lasted only 17 episodes. So it's kind of a mini series, kind of not, but it's I watched about almost a little over half of it.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah.
Awesome.
So I watched about close to 10 episodes, I think. And really fun. I really like it. And why I wanted to bring it up was because there's been rumors that Christopher Nolan is thinking of adapting this into a film. And he had already actually been thinking about this years ago, but never got around to it. He eventually did Inception instead. And then, he's went on to do other things. And now the rumor is he might be heading back to this idea to do a film adaptation. So I was like, well, I'm interested. Let me see why this is something he would be interested in. And when you watch it, you'll be like, okay, I get it. Because a lot of the concepts, it's a lot of concepts about like a hierarchy, kind of like the government or whatever it is controlling us as people. And in this case, the spy trying to retire, get out of the life. He can't just get out of the life. They have to know why he's getting out. Like they can't just let him go. And then he gets controlled. And then there's this whole science fiction angle to it where there's this like bubble that comes out of the water that like can take you and like capture you and, paralyze you. And like, like there's, and then it's a lot of elements of like getting into your mind in this series that made me think about Inception. Like I'm like, they try to use this machine to go into his mind and trick him. And like, I'm like, of course Nolan wants to do this. He's done it, but he's done it in different ways. Like a lot of the concepts, a lot of the sci-fi elements and things all fit something Nolan would be perfect at doing. So I can see why he wants to do this. But have you heard anything about this? Did you look into it?
So once upon a time, this is going to be not a long story. So this has come out on Blu-ray here back in 2009. And circa 2009 was right around the time I was exploring changing from DVD to Blu-rays, right? And a lot of people who had already adopted Blu-rays were kind of, trying to convince other people to buy Blu-rays as well. And when this came out, this is one of the Blu-rays that people would talk about in terms of like, hey, TV on Blu-ray is going to become a thing. Because this is also when TV on Blu-ray was starting to become a thing as well, the late 2000s. So when this Blu-ray had come out, I saw many people on YouTube at the time talking about it, and it was available online. I'd seen it in the store a few times. It's long out of print, and I had always wanted to get the Prisoner Blu-ray because that's the way I wanted to watch it, and it was kind of like something that hyped me up for Blu-ray back in the day, and I just wanted more TV on home video. So if anything, this Imprint release is kind of reminding me about like, hey, I still want this. I still want this show.
Yeah.
Like you said, Steven, it's sci-fi. It's sci-fi-ish with a little bit of political intrigue as well. It came out in the 60s, which is an interesting time for television in general. So
it's a British show as well.
And it's a British show. It's British TV. That's not Doctor Who from the 60s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's something like that. So Imprint is putting this out. And when is that supposed to come out? I forgot. It's coming out relatively
June
soon.
June 5th.
Okay, June 5th.
Yeah.
Again, it's the only place that's really re-putting this out at all. Like I said, originally is long out of print. And I know this is a favorite amongst a lot of people from, older generation than us, like Generation X and earlier.
Yeah.
I've always wanted it, and I kind of want to pick this up whenever it comes out. And I know they put out a lot of TV stuff, and this was kind of the only one that's really been like really intrigued me, really kind of got my attention. So I have heard the show. I've never watched it though, so I'm glad you got to watch and get a taste of it.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
Sounds pretty cool.
It's a cool show, and it's pretty readily available. You can find it on a few different free streaming services to watch it if you want, and it's in pretty solid condition to watch. So it looks pretty good. But this is going to come with new 2K restoration on of 35 millimeter elements. So it's going to be a nice looking addition here. 120 page booklet in here for this. A bunch of audio, a bunch of features, audio commentaries, behind the scenes stuff. It looks like a documentary, a feature length documentary. There's also like another disc on here from another show that the lead actor, Patrick McGowan, was in, called Danger Man. And it's got select episodes from that show on another disc in here. So, I mean, Imprint's doing a whole line as well. This is their 6th edition of Imprint television. So this is cool, man. I'm excited to get this and watch it all the way through.
Patrick McGowan, he was Longshanks in Braveheart.
Yes.
I want like a more modern day comparison of what he was in. He was King Longshanks in that.
Awesome.
He had some of the best lines in that movie. I think about it very often. But that's really cool. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, it was one I wanted to sneak you with. Didn't know if you would object or not, but they did make an adaptation of this in early. It was like 2009. Jim Caviezel and
I remember when that came out. Holy heck!
Ian McKellen was in it. It was a mini
Yes,
series on AMC.
that's why they came out with that Blu-ray.
Yeah,
Was to like coincide with that release, that remake.
yeah.
I remember that. Holy heck!
I haven't
Wait,
seen it, but I hear people say it wasn't a great adaptation, from what I've heard. But yeah, that's all I gotta say. Prisoners, it looks cool. Like I said, you can watch it about anywhere, and Tubi's got it. Tubi's got everything. But where do you want to go next?
let's go to Radiance. Let's go to Radiance.
Oh,
Oh, Radiance. Yeah, Radiance had their, what are they up to now? June releases? Goodness gracious.
so, yeah.
Goodness gracious. We've got a box set and 2 solo releases. They're moving right along.
They did no stopping Radiance right now. They started last year, and you think like a new label, and we know Fran, he's been in the business a while, and you're like, this guy knows how to do this. He's starting his new label. He knows how to do this. You think even still, like, it would take a little bit to get somebody going, but literally since the beginning, he's had like at least four releases a month.
Yeah, it's like every month.
3 to 4
they even
releases.
tell you on the website when the next announcements are going to be, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like clockwork. It's at least, like you said, at least 2 to 4 releases a month, or box set, something.
Yeah.
It's an interesting kind of strategy. Keep people constantly interested, constantly talking about Radiance, constantly thinking about Radius, and it's also a diversified catalog as well. So you're kind of hitting a bunch of different people. This is a different kind of diversified list of stuff as well. So you've got Sympathy for the Underdog, which is a Kinji Fukasaku film. Kinji Fukasaku, whom we've seen a couple of releases before from him.
Cool.
But I think I always bring this up every time he shows up. He directed Battle Royale and Battle Royale 2. Those are probably the ones you're going to know him from the most.
He did the Battle for Humanity. Isn't that his series?
Battles Without Honor.
Battles
and
Without
Humanity?
Honor. That's what it. Yeah, that's it.
Yes, I think he did. Yeah, he did a bunch.
He did a bunch of them. Yeah.
Now that I'm looking at it,
I got the arrows got sets. I got them.
Yeah, he also did. I think he did the Japanese sequences in Tora when Akira Kurosawa couldn't do it. I remember that.
He's a good director.
I think I have. I have to look. It's either I have it. I know I've seen it. That's a very interesting movie. Tora. Very good. But yeah, this is like I said, this is Sympathy for the Underdog. I did not get to see this out of all these releases. I kind of want to watch this one the most, and I didn't watch it. But a Yakuza gang gets driven out of Yokohama by a big gang from Tokyo. They relocate to Okinawa to violently start over. I've heard the climax of this movie is awesome.
To violently start over?
Yes, violently.
That's great.
So I'm guessing they're coming in and kicking
ass.
Kicking
names.
I love the title of this movie.
Yeah.
Sympathy for the Underdog.
Like it.
I like it a lot. Yeah, I put all the Radiance on our list because I want to get all of them anyways. So this is definitely one I'm gonna get eventually. Yeah, it looks cool. Also loaded with special features. There is an audio commentary. There is an interview, a visual essay. Looks like brand new stuff. All brand new stuff. Very cool. So moving on from there, we've got a movie called Bandits of Orgonsolo.
Say that 5 times fast.
I know, Bandits of Orgonsolo plus The Lost World. So The Lost World I didn't see, but I did see Bandits of Orgonsolo. An interesting film. It's directed by Vittorio De Seta, not to be confused with Vittorio De Sica, who did Bicycle Thieves and those movies, and Umberto D and stuff like that.
Umberto D.
I had to take a second look when I was like, Vittorio De Seta. That's very close to Vittorio De Sica.
That second feature it's 10 shorts.
That's why. Okay, that's why I couldn't find
it. Yeah.
So it's 10 short films. It's the Age of the Swordfish, Islands of Fire, I cannot read that. It says Solfatara? Eastern Sicily, Sea Countrymen, Golden Parable, Fishing Boats, Orgonsolo Shepherds, A Day in Barbagia, and The Forgotten. I think
I,
that's
I
all of them.
love when labels spotlight short films.
I
Like
do like that
we
as
see
well.
that a lot more. I mean, like you talked about it last episode with the Canadian International Pictures. That whole animated short set that they put out. Did they just put out? And just Arthur Anderson's got a couple sets
Oh
of.
yeah,
Yeah,
I've got.
did you just get that?
I gotta find it. Actually,
Altered
it's one of my
Innocence
stacks
Volume
behind me. Hold
2,
on.
Volume 1.
I got volume 2.
There it is.
I got volume 2 actually.
Yeah.
I wish I had gotten volume 1 when it came out. I don't know if we were covering Alternatives when volume 1 had come
You know,
out.
Oscars could really benefit.
Take a note.
Take a note here. You could put some money into putting out some physical media that spotlights the short films that get nominated every year. Do it.
Well, what they end up doing is they do put them in.
I know what
in theaters.
Yeah, they put them in
But it's like
theaters.
super limited availability, and they're only like available towards very close to when the Oscars are airing. Because I've seen people we follow, people we know go to the theater and watch them all. Like they'll
I'm
play
not
them all
saying you
back to
shouldn't
back.
do that, but
I
you
do
think
want them
we
physically
can't get
available.
people to go to the theaters to see full length movies right now.
Right.
So how about we give people an availability in physical media? Because I mean, some of these you might not ever find a way to watch them again later.
Well, yeah, you gotta hunt them. I mean,
yeah.
because I watched a bunch of the short films right before the Oscars came out, and I had to go online and kind of hunt them down because they were available. Like some would be on Netflix, some would be, you know, on Apple, some would be on Hulu, whatever the case may be. You have to kind of hunt them down. That's the one issue I have with streaming, and this is a whole big thing. The marketing for streaming is kind of getting worse, I think. I think it's really getting worse.
They just
Like, I just
assume
don't know where anything is.
they just assume you're paying attention all the time, so, like, they just release it, and they don't let you know they're releasing it. It's
Like,
just
um, the some things will get promoted more than others, and some things won't get promoted at all. So
Oh,
you have
yeah.
to go searching and hunting for them.
Yeah.
And it's like, and sometimes you won't know which service they're on or all that kind of stuff. I know you can go to, like, justwatch.com and stuff, places like that will kinda tell you what's streaming where, but I'm talking about specifically, like, new stuff,
Knowing that
that's
something
coming up.
exists at all,
Yeah, something
like
that's
yeah.
coming up right away, and then sometimes you do get promotion, it really all depends, but that's just me. But I do like the short stuff, but Bandits
Yeah.
of Orgo Solo is, a really good film. It's a really good film. Um, I think I had to rent this because I couldn't find it any place streaming. It's so a Sardinian peasant is suspected of murder following an encounter with bandits. In order to survive, he has no option but to turn to banditry himself. And basically, that's kind of the movie in a nutshell. But there's more to it than that. There's more nuance than that. Basically, this guy is kind of framed for something he didn't do when it came to being a shepherd and taking care of sheep, and then he's kind of forced into doing what he didn't want to do, what he's accused of doing, in order to kind of remedy another situation. So he's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. He's
Mhm.
dealing with a lot of the whole probably a moral tale of like, you know, would you do something? Would you do something bad to get out of a bad situation or
Yeah.
something like that? I don't know. It's one of those things.
Almost a high and low situation.
Kind of, yes. Kind of like a
Yeah.
high and low situation, which, Spike Lee's remaking that movie, by the way. Did
I
you know
saw
that?
that. I heard about that. I'm not I mean, he's a great filmmaker, and
Mm,
I'm not he's already done it before where he's remade a great film from a great filmmaker with Old Boy. I don't think that remake is great, but it's okay. This has potential to be interesting with an update, I think.
right.
So
'Cause I think, the
no, but I
themes in
heard
it
he was gonna
are
make it
good.
into a Western. I heard
Isn't
that he was
Denzel gonna be in it? I think he is.
but
I
he's
think it's
gonna
gonna be
make
the
it a
first
West
time
yeah,
I think it's gonna be the first time he's teamed up with Denzel
since
since
Malcolm.
no, Inside Man
Inside Man, you're right,
from
Inside
oh
Man was
five, I think, oh
2003.
six,
Was it that
something
late?
like that.
Yeah.
Um So that's gonna be very interesting. Spike Lee's a super cinephile. Like I think he teaches at NYU. Like he teaches film
Yeah,
courses at
I
NYU.
believe it.
So kind of knows what he's doing. But I find that to be very interesting. Kind of can't wait to see what he does with it.
Yeah,
But this is kind of dealing with that kind of moral tale, but there's a lot more nuance to it and stuff. It's beautifully shot in black and white. I believe it came out in the early '60s, as well. Yeah, really good film. I would definitely recommend
and
people
this
just checking out. It is slow moving,
yeah,
even though the movie doesn't have a long runtime. Still a very kind of slow moving foreign language film. Um,
and this release is region free, so that's good.
okay.
Everybody can get it. But the last thing we're here with is another grand box set, which Radiance just I'm always they're always coming with interesting box sets, and this one involves a filmmaker named Jean-Pierre Mocky, and it's the aggregator three provocations from the wild world of Jean-Pierre Mocky. Yeah, the three films we got here are Latan, Kill the Referee, and Agent Trouble. So, did you get a chance to check out any of these?
Yeah, I watched all three of them.
Of course you did.
Three
Good job.
very
Good job.
thank you. Three very different films.
Yeah.
Like Latan is kind of like a what's the hold on. I'm gonna pull
It's
it and
not
see if I
it's
know
not
what
related to Titan.
no, it's not. I was just gonna say it's Latan is kind of reminds me of a Jean Roland film. Like
Really?
it's got that a lot of fog going on in here. I can
A
tell
lot
you
of
they were
Is there
competing for who could use
vampires
the
in
fog
it?
machine most.
Is there vampires in this?
Weird stuff going on, I would say.
Ah,
More like weird stuff going on. So Nora and Jock arrive in the strange village of Latan during the Festival of the Dead. That's the setting. So you got weird, like paganistic type stuff going on with odd looking
so
creatures and
does this
things
maybe
walking around.
does it fall in maybe the folk horror
Kind
genre?
of like a folk horror-esque
Okay.
type of thing. So I was like, not knowing who this director was at all, I'm like, okay, so kind of like Jean Roland, kind of given those vibes. I'm digging it. I'm digging it. But then the other two films, completely different. They're
Yeah.
completely different. So the first film, Latan, is probably the best of the three that I saw, or at least the most interesting to me. The next one called Kill the Referee. Um, Basically these soccer super fans or hooligans as they're called, don't like a call a referee made during a game and decide that they're gonna hunt him down and show him some business.
It sounds like
Show him some business.
a comedy farce film. Is what
Not not so much in a way. Well, in a way, it kind of starts off kind of like a farcical idea, like, oh, they're
yeah.
gonna hunt down a referee and kill him
So it's
because they
actually
don't like the way it
played
is.
straight then. It's played straight?
But then as but it all takes place in one night. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like so the movie starts, the game happens, the bad call happens, and the soccer hooligans, they're pissed off after the game and they're kind of like, you know what, we're gonna find this guy. You know what I mean? So the whole night they're looking for him. Plus, you get like a cross cut of what the referee is doing during the night as well. And then, of course, obviously, everything kind of comes to a head. And of course, as the night goes along, things kind of amp up and amp up. It's kind of a bit of an After Hours vibe to it, but
Oh,
After
okay.
Hours kind of has a more, obviously a more kind of comedic take to it, I believe.
Yeah.
But this kind of goes deeper and deeper into like pushing the envelope of criminality. Really, what is interesting about this movie is that uh, you could kind of take it out of today's headlines a bit because people get pissed off at referees all of the time. I'm notorious for this. I yell at my television periodically throughout sporting
Andrew,
events.
I can't see you getting angry.
Oh yeah.
You get
Oh
angry a
yeah.
lot?
I used to yell at the referees during my brother's soccer games when he was in high school.
Let me ask you this. I don't really hear you use profanity. Do you use profanity when you get angry?
Oh, constantly, yeah.
Ah, Andrew, we got to get this on video. I don't think anybody's going to believe you.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm very passionate about my sports teams, which I guess is a lot of worldwide type of commonality, especially
Wow.
soccer fans in other countries. It's massive,
Serious
like it's
business.
life or death
Yeah.
for them.
I knew you were a
Yeah.
sports fan, but I did not know you were that passionate to where you curse at the TV.
Thing is, that's the
Wow.
it really all depends on where you're from. Depending on your sports climate, being so close to Boston, where the fans are even more wild than me, um, or you know what I mean? It's kind of like the further away you get from the epicenter of a sports mecca, the weaker the fanaticism is.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I'm like an hour away from Boston, so it's a little weaker here. But I've been to Boston. I've been to, you know, yeah, Boston Bruins games, Boston Celtics games, and fans are wild. Like they will just yell the most profane, profound things at referees and opponents that you've ever heard.
Yeah.
And they don't care if children are around or if anybody's
Nope.
around, they will
Because
do it.
it's
It's
because most
wild.
people are intoxicated at these events,
Very much
for
so,
the
it
most part.
probably as well.
Yeah.
That does factor into it. I think there's a reason why at certain sporting events they stop selling alcohol at a certain point.
Yes.
Some sporting events they don't sell alcohol anymore at all. Um, that just 'cause that's a recipe for disaster. So in
Yeah.
this movie, it's kind of playing on that idea of super fanaticism getting taken too far,
Yeah.
which we've seen in other movies before, but this one is is very much like
I
that.
like it.
Then we have the third film, which is also completely different, which is called Agent Trouble, starring Catherine Deneuve in a rather large wig.
Yeah.
And in this film, I'll just read what it says here. A bus of 50 French tourists lay dead while the driver makes a call. A wanderer, Victorian, boards the bus and robs all the passengers. Returning home, he visits his aunt, Amanda, portrayed by Catherine Deneuve, and lets her in on his secret, unwittingly bringing her in to the attention of icy hitman Alex.
Alex.
A conspiracy thriller reminiscent of Hitchcock, Jean-Pierre Mockey's wonderfully eccentric mystery, has a light comic touch that carefully balances grotesque flourishes. So you're getting a bit of a Hitchcock thriller here,
Yeah.
where it's kind of like, wrong man at the wrong place at the wrong time, getting caught up in stuff that's bigger than he thought it was. Like he just thought it was a bus full of deceased people that he could rob, which sounds outlandish. Sounds outlandish. And then, of course, he brings his aunt into it, and she gets caught up in this thing as well. And yeah, it's a Hitchcock film. So you're going from like Jean Rollin to like a soccer hooligans, like after hours type of thing, to a Hitchcock film. It's very very
Eclectic.
diverse.
Yeah.
I also heard through the grapevine, I think Severin's going to be putting out some of this director's work as well.
Okay.
So I think we're going to be seeing a
So
lot
a
more of this
repeat
stuff.
of that same that what was that other set that Radiance did that then also Vinegar Syndrome put out the that
Oh, the Dr. Hitchcock film?
no, well that did happen too, but the box set,
Oh,
civilization,
yes.
the yeah films, but then of course Vinegar Syndrome put one more film in that set. But yeah, some crossover going on there, but that sounds cool, man. I mean, I don't know much about this director at all.
Oh,
But
yeah, I never heard of him until
and
now.
so this looks like a good entryway here. All right, well, that's Radiance. Where should we go next?
So, speaking of Severin, we'll just go to Severin
Okay.
because there was one movie there that that I had seen, and that I was interested in talking about because it's weird. So Severin did have what's that? 1, 2, 3, actually technically 4 releases that they announced.
Yeah.
Actually, no, 5. Hold on now.
Well, it's
Yeah.
no, it's
No,
4.
1.
It's
I'm sorry,
4.
they have multiple 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4.
Yeah.
Um,
So you had the Great Alligator,
yes.
and then not to be confused with the Alligator movies.
No, no, no.
There's Alligator 1 and 2, which recently there was I believe it was a who put out that the Black Label of 101 Films just put out a set of them 2 films, and then of course Shout I think put out an edition, and but you got Butcher, Baker, Nightmare Maker, which I love that.
Yeah, that's the
Which
movie I actually want to talk about.
okay, but
But
then
they
the last one's Kathy's Curse.
yeah, they put out Kathy's Curse, and they are putting out a 4K UHD release of The Devil's Honey,
The Devil's
the
Honey. Yeah.
Fulci film.
Yep.
Which I have seen. And if you have the Blu-ray already and know that movie, you know exactly the type of movie it is. Yeah, what an interesting upgrade to 4K. it's his most sexually explicit work, I would say, at least that I've seen from Fulci,
I mean,
specifically early on in that movie.
you
And if
call
you've
it
seen the
devil.
posters, you get it.
You call it Devil's Honey.
Yeah,
I got things running through my head right now.
a lot of
Yeah.
sex things happening early on in that movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, The Devil's Honey. My friend let me borrow the Blu-ray a year or two ago, and I watched it. Yeah, it's late Fulci. I think it was kind of considered like Fulci's like last like kind of official Fulci film,
Okay.
towards the end of his career. But anywho, Butcher Baker, Nightmare Maker. First of all, great title.
Yeah.
And this movie is kind of wild, but also kind of crazy, kind of cool, kind of weird, of course. Um, yeah, it's a violent psychosexual grindhouse movie, with a little bit of weird like psycho stuff going on in it. Um, by psycho I mean the movie Psycho. Let me get the synopsis of it. It's yeah, I know a lot of people had talked about it when it was announced, and a lot of people are excited for it. Let's see if I can actually find it on my letterbox. Yeah, there it is. I watched it super early on. So, uh, an orphan teenager finds himself being dominated by his aunt, who's hellbent on keeping him with her at all costs.
Mm.
So you've got a young man here who portrayed by Jimmy McNichol, who is an orphan. He's orphaned as a baby, and his aunt takes him in. And there's something not quite right about this aunt. She's very obsessed, very possessive over him, and to the point where now he's reaching the age where high school is coming to an end soon. And he's going to be going off to college, but she does not want that to happen, Stephen. She's going to do anything she can to keep him around because she's got a weird fixation on him. By weird, you can kind of understand what I'm saying. It's a little Norman Bates plus Norman Bates' mother vibe going on here. Not
Weird.
pleasant, not pleasant. And the film it doesn't so much hint as it makes it very explicit what's going on in her mind. And yeah, so she's just kind of slowly slipping more and more into this obsessive madness and doing more crazy and crazy things to keep him around. Meanwhile, he's just trying to like get a basketball scholarship because he's like a basketball star in school. He's got a girlfriend who is portrayed by I think Julia Duffy is the actress who portrays her in Julia Duffy. I remember Julia Duffy being on the Newhart show that ran from like the 80s into like 1990. She was in that show, and that's why she looks so familiar to me. I'm like, that actress looks very familiar to me, and she was in that show. And yeah, so there's a contentious relationship going on there because, of course, the aunt is incredibly jealous of her and whatnot, and she's just like super like evil and mean sometimes. But then at other times she like switches up, so maybe she has some like schizophrenia going on. It's a wild movie that, of course, devolves into like violent outrage and stuff. Um, Anywho, out of all the movies of the 80s that kind of revolves in this area, I thought this one was actually rather good and entertaining, because it's got the vibe of kind of those 80s slashers, but it's not quite as low budget as them, and it's not quite as poorly acted or poorly made as them. I thought it is rather good. I dug it. Also, the title, like I said, is pretty good.
Yeah.
I dig it, and I
Cool,
think this is coming pretty loaded with Severin stuff. Only one disc though. I thought it was 2 discs, but it does have 2 audio commentaries.
Well, there's a single disc version that's a Blu-ray, but there is a 4K.
Oh, that's what I clicked on.
Yeah. There's a 4K 2 disc.
Is there? I think that's what I. Oh, there it is. I clicked on the wrong thing. It is a 4K 2 disc where it does have 2 audio commentaries. No, 3 audio commentaries.
Yeah,
my bad.
Of course, man.
And then it's got some extras here with some interviews with the actor. Yeah, it's got an exclusive web store slipcover as well.
Yeah, you're almost selling me. I'm thinking about it. Now I'm thinking about it a little bit. All right. Well, is that the only one from Severin you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, that's the only one from Severin that caught my eyes. I don't know if anything else looks good to you. That Kathy's Curse does look kind of wild.
I mean, I love that. Yeah, I love the box that has the green eyes, the lights and the green. Severin's always coming up with clever things to do with their packaging. All right. Well, where did you want to head? You want to head to Umbrella?
Sure.
Yeah, get that umbrella. I know there was one we wanted to bring up. They did come out with 3 releases. They also had a film, or wait, did they? Yeah. They also put out a 4K for the Raid.
Yes.
Which is a great movie, but that's, I believe, had a 4K for a while. Just this is now, of course, coming out in Australia. And was there something else that I'm forgetting?
A lizard in a woman's skin is
Okay, yeah,
another
that's it.
Fulci film. They're putting out a Blu-ray of that, and it's had a Blu-ray out here for years, but put out by Mondo Macabro.
Yeah.
And it's
Gotcha.
still available if anyone is interested in that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, but
so
the
the
thing,
one go on.
yeah, I was gonna say the one we wanted to bring up was it was a really cool box set that they announced. Of course, Umbrella has been notorious for exploiting Ozploitation. In their catalog, they've used that documentary for as features in tons of their releases. And then now they're doing a set called Ozploitation Rarities Volume 1 that has a group of films here. We got one film called Crosstalk, then a film called Lady Stay Dead, which has the best title, Lady Stay Dead. And then they have Final Cut is another film they got in here. And is that it? Yeah, that's it. Lady Stay Dead. Tell me you saw Lady Stay Dead.
That's what's crazy? I saw 2 out of 3 of these movies, and Lady Stay Dead is the one I didn't see.
Jesus Christ, why not? Why didn't you watch that one?
I don't think I don't even know if I looked for it to watch it, but I don't know.
It should have been the first one you looked for.
It should have been. It should have been the first one I looked for, to be honest with you. But I saw the other 2. I saw, what was it?
Crosstalk.
Yes, I saw Crosstalk.
Okay,
say that 5 times fast.
That's why I kept saying stalk. Crosstalk.
Yeah, I know.
Crosstalk.
So this is so a computer genius is confined to a penthouse after a car accident with only a nurse to look after him. But the advanced computer system designed to make his life easier appears to be taking control. Yeah, what's interesting is, so it's a little bit of 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Okay.
With the whole HAL computer taking over and having a mind of its own. That's kind of the gist of what's going on here. Just obviously way less interesting and completely different in terms of the plot that's going on around it. It's these movies are all kind of fine. They're definitely Ozploitations, but they're like lower budget, like B movie Ozploitation, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because first of all, I don't think these have been available in any type of high quality for a long time, or ever really. Because they were all super low budgeted the way I found them. It's they're not great. 'Cause then the next one I watched Final Cut, which is a cool title, and I think the alternate title to that is called Death Games. So Final Cut's a much better title.
Yeah.
It makes more sense, because Final Cut has to deal with movie making, and this has to deal with movie making. Basically, this documentary, this documentary filmmaker is making a documentary about this other filmmaker who may or may not be making snuff films. So they're trying to figure out if he is or not. So I'll read the premise. I'm doing a really terrible job of describing it. So a glossy thriller about a show. First of all, it's not glossy at all. A glossy thriller about a show business tycoon with a shady background and a young documentary filmmaker and his girlfriend who are making a film about him. They believe the tycoon has been making quote unquote snuff films, and they try to get a confession on him on film. He invites him to his luxury penthouse for a weekend of partying and filming, and indulges in mind games until the party ends in disaster. I had truthfully, the only place I could find to watch this movie was on the Internet Archive, and it was probably from a VHS tape. Yeah. So the quality was horrendous, to say the least. And I'm not saying that to be any type of snob or anything. I'm just saying it looked like a very much beat up VHS tape that I was watching. And the movie is rather slow and uninteresting until the third act, when things start getting a little crazy. and you start unearthing that, yes, indeed, this guy is doing some weird stuff behind the scenes, and you've got it, and the people have have figured it out. So yeah, this box set, while interesting in the Ozploitation sense, feels like they've put out better Ozploitation films than this in the past. Like
Yeah,
these
well,
seems like they're
maybe.
digging deep into the archives of Ozploitation,
Well,
and I know very little about Ozploitation in general. I'm just kind of just saying that.
Well, I mean, but the thing is like I think a strategy that most labels like to use is that if they're really wanting to, they have like a group, they have some films that maybe are like lesser known, and they want to find a way to get them exposed and give people, even in a sense, business wise, to sell them. They tend to put them in box sets because it's easier to sell when you can get a group of movies that you've never heard of versus just
I
one,
couldn't see
you know.
like releasing these movies individually and
Yeah.
charging $30 for them or something.
Yeah,
Like, I don't
exactly.
think they're of that high quality enough to get people to buy them for a combined $90 to $100. Like, putting them in a box set for whatever the price is makes a lot more sense. Now that I've completely yeah, there it is. And because they're selling it they're selling it for $74.
It's a
So
little bit on the high
a
side.
little bit on the high side, but divided by 3 is a number that I can't quite figure out, Steve. I don't know about you. Was that $25 a piece
25,
about?
yeah.
Which is a little high for, I think, these movies, but of course you do get I'm hoping special features, didn't even look.
I would,
Yeah, you do get some special features in here.
of course.
That's what it was, yeah, the Crosstalk is a combination of Rare Window and 2001: A Space Odyssey. That was the
Hella
extra movie that
crossover.
that's probably the most interesting movie out of the bunch is Crosstalk.
Okay.
Of course, they have some interviews here from Not Quite Hollywood, because you gotta throw some of those in there.
You got to. Yeah, I mean,
Cool.
I like Australian film. I'm always looking for some more Australian film that I can like. But all right. Well, that's it for Umbrella. How about we do Indicator?
Sure.
Indicator. So Indicator announced their June releases, and in the almost it feels like in a rare change up, and they do this. No box set this month. It's like
Right.
it feels like Indicator always has a great box set or nice limited editions to put out.
Yeah, and
This month they went with 4 single releases.
yeah, and they're back to my bread and butter, back to, like,
Classic.
1940s and 50s cinema.
Yep.
3 of these films are getting released both Region B and Region A, so UK and the US, and then the last one here is being released in the UK only, so I guess Region B only.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's Tomorrow We Live, The Shop at Sly Corner, Obsession, and The Whole Truth. The one that I think is a must buy out of these 4 is Obsession.
Yeah.
I think this movie's really good.
Okay.
It's directed by Edward Dmytryk, who we've seen pop up
Love that guy.
in many
Did the sniper?
instances.
The sniper? The sniper, man.
Yes, he was already in another box set. Yeah, he directed Sniper.
Love that
There's
movie.
a bunch of other movies that he's directed over the time.
He's one of them directors that just like his shit. He just pops up like he's just like, oh, it's another Edward Dmytryk film. Another, it's like what's his name? What's the other director we always say that about? Shit, blanking on him.
So am I.
Yeah, I'm blanking on him. We always say it about another director.
It's not John Farrow. It's
the guy that did I don't know why we're doing this. Just keep talking about Indicator. I'll figure it out.
Okay. So yeah, Edward Dmytryk did movies like The Caine Mutiny, Crossfire, Mirage, The Young Lions. He directed The Young Lions, Raintree Country, The Left Hand of God. He's directed a ton of movies, and like I said, he always kind of pops up like every now and then, almost absent-mindedly. We just end up watching one of his movies just because somebody's putting them out somewhere. He directed Murder My Sweet, which is great.
Yeah, Michael Curtiz.
Well, that's who you were thinking of.
That's who I was thinking of. Yeah, The one that just pops up his shit is just he's like,
I guess that's
oh
true because he directed 200, like over 200
yeah, that's what I'm
things.
saying.
Yeah.
Like you're just like, oh, another Michael Criterion. Oh, wow, Michael Criterion did that movie too. Wow, yeah, that's one of the that's to me the
I was thinking
director.
of someone completely different. I was thinking of like one of the film noir guys who
You're
just
thinking of
shows
one
up
of
in
the
like every
lower
box
level
set.
film noir guys. John Farrow is a good one. He just like pops up and shit all the time too.
But Obsession is really good. Yeah, it's a movie came out in 1949. When a psychiatrist, Clive, learns that his wife, Storm, is having an affair, he
Clive.
resolves to take revenge by kidnapping and murdering her lover, Bill, and dissolving his corpse in acid, as one does, I guess. As Bill languishes in Clive's cellar, Detective Finsbury doggedly pursues the case. So, yes, this guy is a psychiatrist who's going to psychologically torture this guy before he kills him.
That's nice of him. Is there any other person other than Clive Owen in the history of people that is named Clive? I've never met any
I'm thinking
Clives.
of Clive Candy, and I don't know why that name is popping into my head.
Where in the hell did you get that name from?
I'm going to have to Google
Is
it
that
because I
a combination between Clive Owen and Calvin Candy from fucking Django Unchained? Is that what you're doing? Like
oh, you
I've
know what I'm
never
thinking of? So
anybody out there watching, anybody know any Clives? Because I've
yeah,
never met a
so
Clive before.
Clive Candy is, I think, the character in The Life and Death of Colonel Blimp,
Okay. Well,
whose story we follow throughout
any
that
real
movie.
life people named
Okay, real
Clive.
life people? Okay, so yeah. You
Never
didn't
met a
specify, you didn't specify.
That's not a real person. That's a
No,
character once again.
it's from a movie. As my whole life revolves around movies, sometimes the realms
It bleeds
cross
over.
over. Like,
I just saw Spielberg the other day. No, I didn't. Oh.
yeah, like, it's like
Yeah.
sometimes the lines blur between movies and real life.
Never have I ever met a Clive. Yeah, I know. That's just
Yeah, I typically
Oh,
I
you know
haven't
what?
myself.
Here's a good one. Clive
Clive
Barker.
Barker, that's a real life
That's a
person.
good one. You're right.
He
There is another
he was
Clive.
an answer on Jeopardy tonight as well.
You in Jeopardy. God,
It
everything really
happens. It happens.
guess what, guys? He watches Jeopardy before this show too. He
Yeah,
eats and he watches Jeopardy.
they have a lot of movie trivia on Jeopardy, like,
Yeah.
most nights, which is
They gotta get
surprising to
somebody to
me.
watch.
Yeah,
So
like, they had a whole movie musical category tonight.
yeah.
Yeah, it was rather interesting.
Okay.
But, back to Obsession, like I was saying, this psychiatrist is going to psychologically torture this man, uh, and kill him. That is,
You sold
that's
me.
the premise of the movie, but there's so much more than that.
Right.
Like, he's you getting into kind of the psychosis of it all, the like, why he's doing it. Obviously, he's doing it because his wife cheated on him, but he's also doing it, kinda because he has a hubris where he think he can get away with it. You know what I mean? He has that air of confidence about him where, I'm a, a psychiatrist doctor. I'm not only going to kill this man, but I'm going to do it in such a way that is going to be special. You know what I mean? Because that's just the way he is. Like, I'm gonna pull off the perfect crime or something like
Yeah.
that. Um, and he just is thinking he's coming up with this formula for this acid himself. Like, he's not just going out and, like, buying the
Yes.
acid to do it.
I
He's,
have
like,
to melt him
mixing the
just
chemicals in
right.
his lab because he's so smart, you know?
That's
Or he thinks he's so smart.
some Heisenberg. He's a
I was just
Heisenberg.
gonna say, he's got the Heisenberg from Breaking Bad thing where he thinks he's smarter than everyone else,
Yeah.
you know? And will his hubris get the better of him? You'd have to watch the movie to find out. But what's also really cool is he goes and visits his captive in certain scenes, and they'll have like discussions about like certain aspects, certain things about life and whatnot, and like like, oh, you think you can get away with it for such and such reasons and whatnot. It's kind of a battle of wills at points, and then you see over time how his captive is like degrading and getting more desperate and just like and just psychologically being tortured, like, when are you going to do it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the anticipation of when it's going to happen is killing me. Is it going to be tonight? Is it going to be tomorrow? When's it going to happen? um really well acted, really good film, very tight film. It only takes place at a couple of locations. Really good film, kind of I would say a film noir in a way, because you're dealing with kind of more grim scenario. um yeah, I really like the movie a lot. it's definitely a highlight of this lot.
I can tell you liked it, man.
And it's coming with an audio commentary. It's coming with a couple of other special features here as well. Limited edition book, of course. Um, yeah, and it's the world premiere on Blu-ray, so it hasn't been in anything. It hasn't been available anyplace else.
It's region free, so that's
It is indeed. Yeah, these other films, the only one I didn't get to see was the shop at Sly Corner. I saw Tomorrow We Live, which just briefly, it's a French resistance movie that came out, I think, in 1943, so right in the middle of World War II. It's kind of one of those, you could say propaganda films, but I mean, kind of good propaganda, if you will. It actually came out in 1942. So during French occupation, the movie's about like the French resistance against the Nazi occupation in France, stuff like that. I thought it was rather fine, rather good. I think the whole. Did I get to see the whole truth? Yes, I got to see the whole truth, which is another kind of
I thought that was a Keanu Reeves
yeah, it is actually
attorney movie.
It is from a couple of years ago, one of the like straight to streaming or straight to DVD movies. This one stars Stuart Granger and George Sanders. And when film producer Max Granger begins an affair with Gina, the star of his latest production, it isn't long before she threatens to tell his wife threatens to tell his wife what is going on. However, the price of Gina's silence changes for Max when she is found murdered, and he must convince Inspector Carlos of the Yard of his innocence. Directed by John Guillermin, who did Town on Trial. This is one of those types of
trial. That's in one of the that's in the John Ford set.
Is
Indicator?
It?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. I didn't even realize that.
Good pull, Stephen.
Good pull, Stephen.
Thank you.
It's one of those types of movies. So I definitely I do recommend it, but I would still say if you have money to spare, get Obsession first.
You just sold me.
Get Obsession first.
I mean, I was already going to get it because it's Edward Dmytryk, but you had a passionate plea for this film, so
I did. The Whole Truth also. George Sanders, I think, is one of the best character actors I think of his time. This was post after he had already won an Oscar for All About Eve. Oh, he was such a snake in that movie. He plays the slimiest people in movies.
Whoa, I think you almost said F word there.
I like, yeah, I did.
You almost said slimiest F.
He shows up halfway into Hitchcock's Rebecca, and he's just kind of slime the whole time that he just pops in. I've always liked George Sanders. I thought he was great. He's good in this too. He shows up pretending to be something, but he's actually something else. This movie's got like murder and stuff in it, so it's also another good film. So yeah, Indicator going back to kind of their original well of 1940s and 50s cinema, which is what I love. But I think
I'm popping away for a second. Just a second. Okay. Keep going.
So so Indicator is kind of like I said, doing that stuff. Obsession, like I said, is the best. The Shop at Sly Corner is another film I kind of wanted to watch, but didn't get the opportunity. It's also directed by George King, and George King also did. I think he did. Yeah, he directed Tomorrow We Live as well. So you got two George King films, an Edward Dmytryk film, a John Guillermin film, and so you got a bunch of kind of guys who were just working directors during that time frame with these movies.
Sorry, I had to step away. I realized that my wife was probably kissing me this whole time as I left the door to this room open and was, did this. Usually I close the door to this room and do the show. I had the door wide open, and I think I left the door open upstairs too. So like she was probably for a little bit there, like, shut the fuck up. Why can I
wasn't enjoying the educational treatment you were delivering?
Why can I hear him so easily right now? Well, and then the first thing the cue was that I looked around and I never saw the cat. Usually the cat's either on me, trying to get on me, or he's up in his tree in this side view here. And I didn't see him. I was like, where's the cat? And I realized the door's open. I'm like, what the hell was I doing? I was so excited to come do this episode. I was like, I forgot to close the door and everything. But all right, I got it closed now. Cat's inside.
Nice.
Wife's happier. And let's move over to Vinegar Syndrome.
Yeah. Let's go to Vinegar Syndrome.
All right.
Because they had their. I was trying to say halfway to their halfway to Black Friday sale. That's what I was trying to say earlier.
It's the flash pre-order for halfway to Black Friday.
It's like a quarter of the way there, basically. And they announced some hidden titles that they had working on. I think one of these we had already knew was coming. China O'Brien 1 and 2.
Yes.
Because I think who's putting this out in the UK? I think Eureka is. Someone's already putting these movies up. Those movies
might be 88 Films or
is
Eureka.
Yeah, I probably should look it up before
you
if I've got the website up, might as well. Yeah. So they announced, China O'Brien is getting released in 4K by Eureka in April, and it's getting released in May. So take your pick, basically. So they're doing that. And they're also coming out with another Homegrown Horrors Volume 3 set. And then, of course, they've got some of their new label, Cinematograph, which I'm probably butchering that, Steven.
I like I said, go watch the interview that was recently. I think Ryan did an interview with him. I think he says it in the interview. Cinematograph, I think is how he says it. But
okay,
but Dangerous Game.
Dangerous Game. This is an Abel Ferrara film.
Yes,
this is a movie I want to talk about.
Well, I was really wanting to watch this movie, but then I got really into The Prisoner, and I didn't have a chance to watch it.
You got occupied.
Yeah. But
so I got to see it. This is, like I said, another Abel Ferrara film getting a release by somebody somewhere. This came out in 1993. I was a hyping 6 years old when this movie came out.
Yes, perfect time to watch this movie, probably.
Yes, of course. But obviously, I had just watched it for the show here. It is streaming on Tubi right now, as well as Roku. Tubi has it. And I want to say this came out the year after Bad Lieutenant. So
I was gonna say the only Abel Ferrara films I think I've seen is Bad Lieutenant, and I've seen Addiction.
Okay.
Which is that one he did where it's about
the vampire movie with
the vampire. I think them are the only two of his films I've seen. I know I own a film he did.
Have you seen King of New York with Christopher Walken?
I own that film. I have seen that film. Okay.
Yeah, I've been wanting to get the Arrow 4K that came out.
Yeah.
I think actually 2021.
A couple years ago, yeah.
I think it came out 2020, maybe 2020, 2021. But it only came out in the UK. Like, it was a UK only release because somebody's got the rights here. I don't know who they've. That movie's been out on Blu-ray here for so many years, but I heard that 4K looked amazing.
He did. He also, I think he did a movie. Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong director, but I think he did a movie, and I own it, but I've never watched. And I literally have owned this for like 10 years, and I just for some reason have never watched. Maybe it should be an unwatched pile, but it had Willem Dafoe in it, and it's like from the last 10 years or so.
Oh, are you talking about the movie I've brought up every time we've talked about Abel Ferrara, the Pasolini film?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
I might even be thinking. You keep talking about Dangerous Game, and I'm gonna figure this out.
Okay. So Dangerous Game came out in 1993. Like I said, it came out the year after by Bad Lieutenant, and he's reteaming with the star of Bad Lieutenant in Harvey Keitel. But this movie is rather different. So Harvey Keitel plays a New York City film director who goes to Los Angeles to work on a movie, and the movie begins to reflect the actions in his real life that he's directing within the film, and the film is dealing with like a very tumultuous relationship between these two characters, a very kind of fractured and broken relationship that's going on. And what's happening in his real life is he's kind of going through that with his wife in a more subtle way, but it becomes more and more apparent as the film goes along. And he's also having an affair with the woman who is starring in the film that he's making, who happens to be portrayed by Madonna. So Madonna is in the movie. And she was a when she was doing the acting kind of in the 80s and early 90s, I thought she was actually a really good actress. She hasn't really done a lot of acting since then, I think, at
Nah.
least that I can recall. And she's really good in this movie. And I always have an affinity, I think you do too, Stephen, movies about movie making.
Oh yeah.
And this movie's very much of that. Like there's entire scenes and bulk of this movie is him on set making this movie, and you see
The
so it's kind
process.
of like movie Inception, where it's a movie within a movie, as you know what I mean? And
Yeah, she
and
was stunning. Yeah.
she was
And
really
to
stunning
break
on
it up real
screen.
quick, I'm sorry, somebody had helped me figure this out. 444. It's the last day on Earth. 444.
Oh, okay.
444. Last Day on Earth is the movie. Abel Ferrara directed with Willem Dafoe in it. I haven't watched it literally in my collection for like 10 plus years,
How
and
did you come about getting that movie?
it was
Just
like a
by
movie I
happenstance?
found at some discount store, and I was like, "Oh, this looks cool." And I just bought it, and I never watched it. I have to watch it for the unwatched pile. That's gonna have to. Maybe that'll be this week's unwatched pile
I was
for
saying
me.
you're almost giving it away.
I should just do it. I haven't chose one yet. Maybe that'll be if you come and watch next Monday. That's gonna be my unwatched pile. If I still haven't, I gotta find it.
Yeah, there you go.
It's somewhere in there. It's a DVD. So
Oh, okay. Um, but back to Dangerous Games. So the movie, like I said, is about movie making, but it's also about, fracturing of relationships and stuff like that, and
yeah,
kind of also about like, certain pretentious movie making skills and things like that. Like he's having a relationship with the Madonna character, or the actress that Madonna is playing, kind of just to get more kind of inside of the movie and stuff like that. So it's dealing with kind of pretentious movie making things, but
yeah,
I think it was very, very good. I thought it was very well directed, darker film dealing with darker things. The actor who's in his movie is kind of one of those method actors who, like, if he's playing somebody who's drunk, he's got to be drunk while doing the scene. If he's playing
yeah,
somebody who's high, he's got to be high during the scene. If he's gonna be like somebody who's abusive, he's got to be an abusive asshole. You know what I mean? So it's getting into those kinds of things that are interesting, kind of reflecting of like real life movie making stories that we've heard of before. You
yeah.
know what I mean? Like super method actors and stuff like that. So the movie's dealing with a lot of things and kind of a little all over the place. But I thought it was very good. Like Harvey Keitel is very good. I almost said Willem Dafoe actually. That you brought him up.
I've said
Uh,
him a lot. Yeah, so I'm incepting you.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. So I
but
really, really dug this, and this is getting released through their new line, which this is what, release number
it's
5 already?
yeah. I actually just ordered because last episode you really sold me on Singapore Sling, so
Mm.
I ordered that along with the first two releases from Cinematograph. So Little Darlings and Red Rock West. I got
How many
coming.
copies are left of Red Rock West? Because I know it
It's
was
like
around
in the
500.
400. It was like in the 400s. So
Okay.
you
I
might
knew
want
it
to
was in the
start.
500s over the weekend. I was
Yeah,
curious if people were gonna jump on that
yeah.
during the weekend stuff, but yeah, that's when I'm eyeing. And you know me, Steven, I gotta wait until it reaches a
Wait till
certain
it's
number
in the
where I start
hundreds.
panicking.
You gotta wait till it's like double
I gotta
digits.
wait until the thing, and I gotta wait until I have half a heart attack and a panic attack before I
Yeah,
get it.
it's his damn drug, man. He just waits. He's like, oh, he like holds the keyboard button right as like it's like the last couple like copies
Well,
left. And he holds the pay for it button. And he's like,
yeah.
ah,
Oh, I've missed out on that before. Sometimes, yeah, it's better to have. I know it's a whole internet security problem, but it's better to have your pay information already saved in there sometimes, because you never know. Every second counts. Well, I told you about, when I went to buy The Wounded Man, they had one copy left, because Scott Saslow was coming on, and he had worked on this, and it was like I got to get it. And there was one copy left,
yeah.
and it's like, that was the most extreme version of this scenario that I think I've ever gone through. Um, but yeah, so I've got to keep my eyeballs on Red Rock West, but also this as well. But I think this still
It's
has.
got a vast amount. I think it's at
Yeah, and
least
I
five
think this
thousand.
probably won't even be available to get until
I mean,
May.
there's pre-orders
Yeah,
obviously, so people are going to get their copies if they want it. But I believe this is a high 5,000, yeah. So
yeah,
it'll be around for a little bit, I think, as long as people don't get too much of a fervor. But I
yeah.
know another film that was announced that I think people are going to have a high fervor for, and that's the Top Gun ripoff, Navy SEALs. I mean, it's not a ripoff, but it's
Oh, it
obviously
might as well be.
it was
It might
it
as
was
well be.
made because of Top Gun.
Yeah.
You know,
I had never seen the movie before
yeah,
now, but I had heard about it for years, and I'm pretty sure I was around when it came out. When did it come out?
90. Yeah,
Was around. I remember there's a reference to it in Clerks,
yeah.
like at the video store that Randall works at. Navy SEALs. I remember that line. But yeah, it's very much in the Top Gun vein, just not as good as Top
I
Gun.
mean, literally, when they were making this movie, there's a scene where they all play golf, but initially they were supposed to be playing like volleyball too.
Yeah, it's very reminiscent of the
I mean, they were
volleyball
like,
scene.
"Wait a second, that's just like Top Gun." They knew that they were getting too close to Top Gun. So,
Yeah, and the movie, yeah, it's not as it's
well,
not very good.
I mean,
I'm actually surprised that it's a VSU release, but also not because they did put out Showgirls, which is also not very good, but at least Showgirls has its cult following. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like Showgirls has its cult following. Like they'll have repertory screenings where people will, go to watch it and have a fun time. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't see that happening for Navy SEALs. You know what I mean? Uh,
It's not quite got that like it's so bad it's good. It's like somewhere in the middle where
no,
it's
because it's
not.
not. I don't think it's like
It
super, super bad.
no,
You know what I mean? But it's also not great. It's kind of in the middle,
it's
and
not.
it's so very much a '90s action film.
It's not goofy enough to be bad. It's almost you could say it's almost just like it's kind of boring. I mean, like it's got some good set pieces. Like there was obviously a budget on this thing,
Oh yeah,
and the cast is good. I mean, Bill Paxton,
yeah.
um,
Bill Paxton, Charlie
Mike,
Sheen, Michael
Michael
Biehn,
Bean.
and this is
Uh,
post Platoon. Charlie Sheen. This
yeah,
is post
this is
Aliens.
Major League.
Yeah,
Was
this is
just
post
yeah,
Aliens. Michael Bean. You know what I mean? This is like, um, this is when these guys were really big.
yeah. This was a
Um,
big cast. This was
Yeah,
a
this is a big cast with, with large, action sequences, especially the climax of this movie is very
yeah.
big. It's a rather dated film for the '90s. I mean, it's fine, I think.
It's
It's
fine, but it's yeah,
yeah.
it's
To
probably
get
got
such a deluxe release like this is kind of to me. Someone there must be a big fan.
well,
Um,
it's not it doesn't have all the extras announced yet, but I'm gonna
yeah.
assume that there's gonna be a pretty large extras package on this that'll have some context that will maybe make this a little bit more interesting for people.
Yeah, and yeah, I'm a little bit behind on the VSU releases.
I still
So
need to get Daryl, and I
I know you
think
have Southern Comfort, don't you?
I just got that in. So
Like that,
I
yeah.
think the only one I don't have other than Beastmasters, which I don't even really need, but
What's interesting is
um
that's what I do have.
so
I've
can I
I've
take it? Can I steal it from you so I can be complete?
yeah, no way, no way.
I'm just
So
kidding. I don't need
I
it.
got the first 4. I don't have what's that movie that you really like? Sidekicks? Yeah.
Sidekicks. I don't really like that movie. It's okay.
Okay.
I was made to watch that movie a
Oh,
thousand times because my dad loves Chuck
liked it.
Norris.
That movie. The more I think about that movie, the more it makes me just want to watch Karate Kid.
To nothing. Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, it does kind of make you. There's nothing that beats when it comes to the VSU. To me, the best VSU is still Six Stream Samurai.
I still think that
It's the best one.
that's the one that kind of got me hooked on the line. To be
It did.
honest,
Yeah. I
Cloak
mean,
and
yeah,
Dagger has
Cloak and
great
Dagger's
artwork.
great. Yeah.
Although that Roadhouse release
Oh yeah. Yeah,
it's like
Roadhouse is
that's gonna
awesome.
be like the best Roadhouse release ever. I think
But
for that movie.
but to me, that Six Stream Samurai release is just like chef's kiss. Like it's like, and I don't understand how it's not sold out. And unless it's sold out by, I don't know now, but that shit should have sold out a lot quicker.
I don't think it's sold out now.
It should be. I don't understand.
I know.
It's a it's an awesome movie.
Yeah, limited edition of let's see, Six String Samurai. Let's see, clicking on it, and of course it's slow. Okay. Nope, still over 1,000 copies left.
Come on, people.
Yeah, no,
What the hell's
I
going
do
on?
like that. I have Cloak and Dagger. Yeah, as like I said, as soon as
Showgirls is
a Showgirl sold out like
yeah.
a while ago.
Yeah.
That's something I'm gonna have to go to eBay for. Uh, Daryl is actually not a bad movie.
No, it's not bad.
It's not bad. It's kind of an '80s family film. Southern Comfort is very good.
Yeah, Walter Hill.
It's a Walter Hill film that I really dug. Then we've got Navy SEALs, which is
Sure.
interesting.
Cool.
I mean, it's a fun action movie. I'll say that.
This might be a VSU I don't really need to have. I'm fine. But
I
otherwise,
feel you.
Yeah, otherwise, like you said, the homegrown horrors, which is always kind of cool. And then there'll be a couple hidden secret releases, I guess, that get announced closer to the halfway to Black Friday.
Yeah, there's
sale,
still 2 remaining ones.
Yes.
That they have not released, that they haven't announced yet.
Yeah.
So we shall see when those come along. But moving on from there, Stephen, where shall we venture?
Well, let me ask you this. Is Criterion the last place?
I think it is. It's the last I have on my list. You got anything else?
That's it for me. So let's head over to Criterion, which they had I think a mega slate here.
This
I thought
was a month for the ages. I think.
Love this slate.
What a slate! They're making June look good.
Yeah, so it's making it look hotter than it is already. So we did get some upgrades to 4K with Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and also one that I think is upsetting some people a little bit with Blue Velvet getting already. We just got that Velvet Blu-ray release like a couple years ago.
Yeah, let me see. When that came out. Well, unfortunately, they just had a flash sale, and I'm pretty sure I saw people saying, "Yeah, I just got Fear and Loathing. Yeah, I just got Blue Velvet."
Yeah.
So Blue Velvet came out in 2019.
It feels like yesterday, though.
Yeah, it does.
I know. Well, so that's not as bad, but damn, it feels like I just bought that movie. But yeah, so you got a couple upgrades to 4K, and I believe the rest of these are all new to the collection. So let's start with. Should we start with the Underground Railroad?
Yeah. So the Underground. This is kind of somewhat unprecedented. When was the last time that that Criterion released a miniseries, a television miniseries, or streaming miniseries? Really, this is an Amazon streaming series that was done by Barry Jenkins a couple of years ago. An adaptation of a book, I believe. And yeah, I was kind of wondering when was the last time they did something like that. I mean, Small Axe, I believe, was initially aired on. I think it was aired on Amazon here, and it was also aired on TV in the UK. So technically, I guess that works.
Yeah.
But it's not often that we're seeing this nowadays. Just
no, it's not. It is definitely something that's a little different for them. But they got a relationship with Barry Jenkins, I believe, and of course they put out like a couple of his releases already.
They put out his early
Was it Melancholy?
Yeah,
something for
Medicine for Melancholy.
Medicine
I think
for
it was.
Melancholy.
That was like his first film. So
yes.
They put that. He was in the Criterion closet as well. He did a video for there a little while ago. So this is a great release. So for those of you who don't know this, a monumental reimagining of American history, Barry Jenkins' adaptation of Colson Whitehead's Pulitzer Prize-winning 2016 novel is a harrowing and a rhapsodic journey through a still-echoing past, weaving together historical fiction with moments of magical realism. The Underground Railroad is a full-sensory immersion into the world of Cora, who, fleeing slavery, embarks on a treacherous quest for freedom and is menaced by violence, supported by a clandestine community fighting for liberation, and haunted by the people she loses along the way. This is a kind of I've seen it. It's kind of a fantastical reimagining of the Underground Railroad system, where it's an actual like underground, under the earth railway system, like with the train and things like that. And you kind of follow this woman as she escapes slavery and goes to these different kind of safe haven communities throughout this network and whatnot. It's rather interesting. I would highly recommend streaming it if you can, if you have Amazon Prime. It is going to be dark and serious because you're dealing with a heavy subject of slavery and all of the abuses that go along with it and all of those things. But very, very good. Barry Jenkins, I think, is an extraordinary filmmaker. So
yeah, I'd love
it's to be high quality.
I mean, honestly, I'd love to get his other 2 films that he's done. Moonlight, of course, is one of the best movies in the last couple decades, and then, his
I
other
have
film, Beale
it
Street Can If
yeah,
Beale
If
Street
Beale
Can
Street Could
Talk.
Talk. I think I have If Beale Street Could Talk. I
Yeah,
can't remember now, I
I
have to
have the
look.
Blu-ray, but
I
a
think I
nice
have the Blu-ray as well.
Criterion upgrade would be nice, but,
Yeah, I would
yeah,
like Moonlight as well. I think I
Moonlight in
have the Moonlight
4K is
Blu-ray
yeah,
somewhere.
yeah.
I just don't know where. I just gotta find it. I gotta
Why don't
find these
know?
things, Steven.
Nice, well, you
Yeah.
can't have everything right beside you on the couch, man.
No, but I do thing is I do have a best picture section. I just don't know if it's in it yet.
Well, it's either that or La La Land.
Ah, very true.
I know.
I I do have La La Land, but I have it over where the drama uh section is. But yeah, I would like that as well, especially if Beale Street Could Talk. I think that was a really great film that a lot of people didn't watch.
Yeah.
It didn't get the
The
hype that I
acclaim,
thought
yeah,
Moonlight kind of gave Barry Jenkins's work. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I felt like after Moonlight, his next film, if Beale Street Could Talk, would get more eyeballs on it and stuff.
yeah.
Like, I thought it should have been nominated for Best Picture,
It
personally.
was good. Yeah, it was
Um,
underrated, definitely.
but, The Underground Railroad, like I said, is a limited series, um, and I think this guy's yeah, it's got audio commentary with Barry Jenkins. It's got a couple of features here, and obviously this is gonna be a brand new title to the collection, which is nice to get a new addition, you
Yeah,
know what I mean? So that's
definitely.
great. One of these movies I did not get to see, Steven, that's Victims of Sin,
Yeah,
simply because you cannot stream
can't
this
find
movie
it.
anywhere. You cannot find it. This is them, and I think they've done this before. They're no strange to this, but we're seeing this a lot with some boutique labels. Mexican cinema.
Yeah,
We're seeing a lot more Mexican movies being put on physical media. We've seen it with Indicator, certainly, and we're seeing it now with Criterion, where we got this movie called The Victims of Sin.
I love the
It
art. I love the art on
Yeah,
this.
that artwork is very beautiful. Like, I love the colors on it. I do like the colors on it, and this movie is, it's actually something I really wanted to watch, and it's unfortunate I couldn't find it at all. So, a nightclub performer decides to raise the baby found abandoned in a trash can, putting her job and social life in jeopardy. So you're dealing with, like, um, social commentary on societal norms, the idea of single parenting, the idea of adoption, I guess, in a most
Yeah,
unconventional way, if you think about it. Um, Also, as sad as this is, people do abandon their children even to this day. You have heard horror stories of people abandoning children in trash. I mean, we've heard horror stories of that on the news and all and whatnot. So things like that still happen today. And the movie's giving kind of like a bachelor mother type of vibe. That movie Bachelor Mother, where becoming a parent reluctantly, kind of out of nowhere. How do you deal with that?
yeah,
And also how you dealing with it in that type of social setting where you're a nightclub performer. You know what I mean? You're not typically a person whose life lends single parenting uh, being an easy thing to do. So it seems like it's got all those things working for it. So I definitely want to give this movie a watch whenever it comes out.
awesome. Yeah, yeah. We always we've been so excited about seeing more Mexican cinema come out because it just seems like Canadian cinema when Canadian International Pictures popped on the scene, like just a part of cinema that we just weren't seeing enough of. Um,
Yeah, and there is an interview here with Rodrigo Prieto, the cinematographer,
mhm.
who, of course, has shot many, many things. He shot Killers of the Flower Moon. He shot, um, I think he shot Brokeback Mountain as well.
Mm.
Yeah, he's the cinematographer for Brokeback Mountain, for Silence. Um, so he's
Silence.
worked with Scorsese and Ang Lee. He shot The Wolf of Wall Street. You're getting a bit of a trend here, and Argo.
Mm.
And Beautiful and Broken Embraces, um, Lost Caution, Babel. There's a yeah. So this I know the name Rodrigo Prieto, and he's got an interview on here, which is pretty damn cool. Um, but moving on from there, let's talk about the biggest one, Stephen. This got people buzzing,
Oh
and
yeah.
that is the Wachowskis' Bound 4K UHD release, the 1996 neo noir. Have you seen this movie? Just curious.
Oh yeah, I have
Okay,
the era release
nice.
from way
I don't
back in the day.
I don't own the movie at all, and I've talked about it a few times on here, and now I want it. Now I'm gonna get it.
Oh, I'm
So
getting this. I'm
I'm
getting
getting
this.
this as well. So I think I mentioned this before. Olive Films put this movie out twice on Blu-ray. They put out a regular kind of bare bones release, and they put out an Olive signature release. And I know once Olive pretty much said, "Hey, we're gone now." I know a lot of people scooped up the Olive signature edition, and I think some of the special features are being carried over here. I'm not sure if all of them are being carried over, simply because this listing of special features on this Criterion release is not too detailed. So I don't know if it's got everything. Um, is it's so don't quote me on that. All I know is that this is the first time it's getting a 4K release, I believe. Also I know our friend Sister Hyde did the cover art
Yep.
for this release, Drusilla. Um, so she did the release. If you go follow her on her social media, she shows how she created the um the artwork for it and stuff, which is really really cool. Um, doing it all by hand and kind of how she makes her art and whatnot. It's really cool. But yeah, I this is a no brainer. This is like high priority
Yeah.
release for when this comes out, or for the Criterion sale at Barnes and Noble in July.
Most
This
definitely.
may be at the very top of the list because it'll be right around that time when this comes out. Um, yeah, if you haven't seen this movie, it's I think the Wachowskis' first film they came out with,
Yes.
starring Jennifer Tilly, Gina Gershon, Joe Pantoliano. Joe Pantoliano, of course, was then in their second film, The Matrix, a little film called
That
that.
little movie. Well, I mean, it was a small movie for
It-
the type of movie it was at the
for the
time.
time, yeah,
Yeah,
it kind of came out of nowhere and became a
and then it
super
became
massive
a
cult hit.
fucking mega. Yeah,
But yeah, this movie it's so good.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
Isolated to like this one building. Essentially, these two women, kind of fall for each other, and at the same time are trying to steal this money from this mob guy. Um, so yeah, it's kind of a noir thriller kind of thing.
yeah.
It's
Yeah, so Corky, a tough female ex-convict working on an apartment renovation in a Chicago building, meets a couple living next door, Caesar, a paranoid mobster, and Violet, his seductive girlfriend, who is immediately attracted to her. Yeah, and they get caught up in, like you just
yeah,
said, Stephen, like a
such a
bit of a
yeah.
situation.
Yeah, it's such a stylish film. The
Yes,
directing is so like
good.
striking and good, and yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
For a
this again,
first
so good.
film, they were very fucking confident.
Yeah, they were very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one has no one takes quite the chances that they take with certain films. Now, granted, the audience response to those chances sometimes aren't the most
Yeah.
positive. I'm thinking of Jupiter Ascending.
Jupiter
I'm
Ascending
thinking of Jupiter Ascending, which I have.
is
Um,
yeah,
I'll say this though, but on the opposite end of the spectrum, Speed Racer, people
Speed Racer.
love that movie. That needs a nut. That movie in
That's
4K would blow people's eyeballs out of their sockets
yeah,
because that movie's so colorful. It's
yeah.
so in your face. You know what I mean?
That's almost become a cult movie, even though that's like a bigger budget movie. Like it's almost become culty in a way
Yes,
because
I think
it's hard to
it's got a
watch.
cult
And
fan base.
yeah,
Um, yeah, to be honest, I really like Cloud Atlas, and I think I may be the only one
it's
who does.
definitely I would
Ambitious.
a little ambitious. I wouldn't say I loved it, but it is ambitious. I appreciated that ambition. Um, some weird Tom Hanks in that movie.
Yeah,
Um,
I have the book as well, which I've been wanting to read for several years now. I may do that one day. But yeah, so Bound is definitely just kind
yeah,
of the highlight of this
this
amount,
slate. Yeah.
this slate. Before we get to the Rainer Werner Fassbender film, I think we mentioned that Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas is
Yes.
getting a 4K UHD release. This is the Terry Gilliam film. This is outside. If Brazil's my favorite of Terry Gilliam's work, this is probably my second favorite of his work.
Yeah.
This was the movie that I think was the first film of his I ever saw and kind of got me into his work. What a bonkers movie. The whole movie is just a drug acid trip in the desert with Johnny Depp playing Hunter S. Thompson, based off of his book Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which is based off of his life,
Yeah.
where he's just tripping balls in the desert.
Yeah.
Really, it's kind of the movie. It's a early performance from also is it Benicio del Toro?
Benicio del Toro. Yeah.
Yes, yes, it is. He's in the film as well. Um, yeah, so I want to make sure to mention that. But another film to mention here is Querelle. I think that's how it's pronounced. Querelle. The Rainer Werner Fassbinder film. This is Rainer Werner Fassbinder's last film. Came out in 1982. He would pass away, I think, sometime after this. And yeah, it's his last work. From the mid to late 60s to like 1982. He made like 40 movies, and this was one of them. And this is a movie that is truly unique. Truly unique. Um,
And that artwork has gotten people freaking out
People
too.
were losing their minds about this artwork. Thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah.
Because people
Well,
think
not
it's
not me,
AI.
but one of our audience mentioned
Yeah,
this.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Thank you
Yeah.
to the
Okay.
person
Okay.
in our
Just
audience
make
who
sure you
mentioned
weren't
that.
thanking me. I was like, I
No,
didn't
no,
say
no.
it.
Christ, no. I don't thank you for much.
Oh,
Christ, no.
asshole.
But but yeah, people were freaking out about it because if you look at the artwork, some people were interpreting it as
Yeah.
AI.
AI. Yeah.
And the artist came out and pretty much said that no, it's not AI. And they actually showed how they made it.
Yeah.
And just to kind of quell people's freaking out about it. Um, it's a very striking image, I will say that.
Yeah.
Um, it's also very apropos for the movie because this character in the movie looks exactly like that and wears that exact outfit throughout the entire movie the whole time. It's an interesting film. I don't even know where to start with it. Uh, I do want to start with talking about what the movie's actually about. I believe it's based off of, I want to say, a play from the 1940s. Um, so a handsome Belgian sailor on shore leave in the port of Brest, who is also a drug smuggler and murderer, embarks upon a voyage of highly charged and violent homosexual self-discovery that will change him forever from the man he once was. That is kind of it in a general nutshell, but there's a lot more going on in there. So he is a sailor who has come to port and goes to a brothel where it just so happens his brother works at, and his brother is um the what's the male version of a mistress, Stephen? Of course you can't hear me because I'm talking to you. Stephen, what is the
Sorry.
male version of a mistress?
Oh man,
Is
I
there like
don't
a
know.
word for that?
There has to
Gigolo?
be. I mean, maybe.
Maybe.
I mean,
But anywho,
somebody know what that is?
the
Let us know.
proprietor of this brothel, portrayed by Jean Moreau. Speaking of going back to like kind of, we were talking about French cinema in the '60s and whatnot, or French and Italian cinema. Jean
I
Moreau.
mean, I'm seeing here manstress
Oh, okay then. Didn't
is
know that was a word. So his brother is this woman's manstress, I guess. Who, like I said, portrayed by Jean Moreau, and so he's got a connection there, but he is kind of jealous of his brother and wants to kind of become this woman's manstress as well. But in order to do so, he's got to like go through her husband, who is the bartender there.
sugar daddy,
Yeah, what's the opposite?
lover.
A sugar baby, really? You know what I mean? I guess lover. Yeah, lover would be a proper term. Yeah.
I'm also seeing a word here called a paramour.
Oh, that's a nice
I don't
term.
know if that's.
You like the band, Stephen Paramore?
I don't listen to them.
You didn't listen to them back in the 2000s? I feel like that
No,
was a high school thing for me. Paramore came out
no,
around
no.
around
I
that
mean,
time.
I've heard of them. I'm not. I'm just no. I've never really got acquainted with them. So.
Okay, I was almost gonna start singing for you, but never mind then.
What? Don't let me stop you. Please sing, Andrew. Everybody's been waiting for you to
I
sing.
guess so. But Paramore's actually been touring the last couple of years. Everybody's having like these nostalgic flashbacks of when they were young, including myself. Um, but anywho, so this this character has to he's kind of wants to take his brother's place, but he gets caught up in other things that are going on. Like I said, there's smuggling going on, there's murder going on. He's playing people's emotions against himself. Meanwhile, he's also having this gay sexual awakening as well. And of course, Fassbender doesn't shy away from the sexual aspects of this whole thing. You know what I mean? So it is very graphic in those depictions. Nothing that I think is too harsh for people, but you know the way people are with sexual things, Stephen. They have a sensitivity towards them.
Some do, yes.
Some do. For me, it was kind of like, oh, I think like I've seen Fassbender's work. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So you get those sequences in this film, which I think obviously is probably what makes the movie have the reputation it probably has. If you go onto the Criterion channel, which is where I watched it, it's in their Razzie section. So it's right next to like Freddy Got Fingered. So it's like we could get a Tom Green film and then a Rainer Werner Fassbender film right next to each other to stream if you so choose. And it's kind of just a weird correlation there. I think they tried to do that just to like because you know the Razzies being the opposite of the Oscars and whatnot.
Yeah.
But ironically, if you go on there and you look at like you know what's most popular streaming, it's like the movies that were given Razzies back in the day, or that are considered like the worst movies, because they do have a following, they do have their fans and whatnot. But Querelle is an interesting movie set in this fever dream type of world where they look like fake sets, like you would see on on a theatrical exhibition, and you're aware of it, but it kind of goes with the atmosphere and kind of puts you in this unique, weird port world where this guy is having, having gay sex, and he's also manipulating people at the same time.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things happening in this movie, and there's a narration in it as well. It's so unique
You,
and so fascinating.
you
And
know,
the way in which people talk is like so stunted and so like wooden that I'm like, are they supposed to be this way, or is it just bad acting? And you don't really know.
yeah. You know what? For some reason is coming to mind, and I don't know. I just remember this film having a little bit of, I believe, some queer undertones to
Mm,
it, and it feels like similar to this, like the way you're describing it is the movie Night Tide with
okay.
what's his name,
Dennis Hopper.
Dennis Hopper, and
He, like, falls in love with a mermaid.
mermaid, and like, yeah, and he's like they're next to the sea a lot. It's sailor. He's like a sailor or seaman of some type, and it
Right.
just feels like the way you're describing it, it has a little bit of that kind of weirdness to it.
It does have that type of weirdness to it.
Yeah.
Um, just the way in which the movie is portrayed and the way in which it's told reminds me of, oh, what's that? Um, I have to look it up. The Lars von Trier movie with Nicole Kidman. Um, the one he did in the late '90s. I'm gonna look it up right now. I think it's not Dogma. I forgot what it's called. Maybe it is called Dogma. It's only been available on DVD. Dogville, that's what it's called.
Dogville.
So the way it's 2003. I was a little off on my
Say
timing, but
Dogma's a Kevin Smith
the
movie,
way
but
Dogville is done is it's depicted as if it's a play movie hybrid,
yeah.
where people are like on a play like set, but it's shot as if it's in like a movie.
So like Wes Anderson?
Kind of a weirder, even more pretentious version of
Yeah.
Wes
More
Anderson's.
pretentious.
Yeah. Although I do love Wes Anderson's work.
Yeah.
I do actually like his newest film as well. Heck, he finally won an Oscar. Actually, we were talking about the Oscars earlier. He won for best short film.
Yeah, it's
I
kind
don't
of
think he's
funny.
ever won before.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah, it was the one with Benedict Cumberbatch, the sugar, not
Yeah,
Sugarman. I almost said Searching for Sugarman, but that's a documentary.
that's a documentary. That's
That's a
yeah.
that's
Yeah,
a that's the
it's
way
just
to
funny.
the
It's
one.
almost kind of like I almost feel like it's a funny jab at him, because like some people don't like his style, but they were like, we like it in doses, and so
Yeah,
it was
it
like a
was
short
called
film.
The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar and The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar.
Yeah.
That's what it
So
was
it's
called.
almost funny that like they're like, we like you, Wes Anderson, just not for 2 hours.
I guess
Just
so. Although I've always been a fan of his work. Some
yeah,
people
yeah.
don't like it. But back to Carol. So like I said, this is Franco Nero is in this film as well.
Oh, wow, really?
Franco Nero plays like the captain of the ship that this character is on. Like I said, Jean Moreau plays the madam of this brothel, if you will. Um, yeah, it's yeah. So let me read this here. So, conjured from the unholy meeting of two iconoclastic queer artists, Rainer Fassbender's final film audaciously raises Jean Genet's controversial novel to the level of myth. That was the guy who wrote the book. In an expressionistic soundstage vision of a French seaport town. That's what the word I was getting at. It looks like a
Yeah.
soundstage. Bathed in fiery reds and complete with phallic spires, not too subtle. A strapping sailor and unrepentant criminal, portrayed by Brad Davis, comes ashore to arouse passion, rivalry, and violence among the oh boy, libidinal denizens drawn into his orbit, and acted
Man.
with dreamlike stylization by a cast of international stars, including Jean Moreau and Franco Nero. Querelle finds Fassbender pushing his taboo-shattering depiction of gay desire to delirious extremes. Yes, that's the movie. I will be adding this to my collection, no doubt. I still got to get the other Fassbender stuff that Criterion has put out, like World on a Wire I don't have. What's that film that you really like, Steven? I almost said like Days, like something doesn't make a day or something like that.
I don't think this is a movie that
8 hours don't make a day.
that's a mini series or
Oh, okay.
that's yeah, that's a
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I like it, yeah, but it's
Fox and His Friends, the BRD trilogy.
yeah, I have
Uh,
the three sets from Arrow that I gotta go through.
oh yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
forgot you had all those.
yeah.
I think Carol is in there. Oh, Querelle is in there.
I don't
Maybe it's
know.
in that third set.
Maybe.
I would have to look, but yeah, the Criterion's put out a bunch of Fassbender over the years, and I've got some in my collection. They have them all streaming on the Criterion channel, so that's where I've seen most of them. But yeah, this is definitely a must buy for me, and for Fassbender fans in general, I think. Um, cool. So I think that's it for Criterion.
That is it, man. Good
That's
month,
June.
good month.
That's June in a
I'm
nutshell.
excited for it. Bound. Wachowskis are in the collection.
Yeah, I think it's the first time.
Yeah. Yeah, now we need a great Matrix, the first Matrix movie on Criterion Collection.
If Warner Brothers lets them have it.
That would never happen. But that is it, guys. Thank you, everybody that hung around with us for spine number 135 of Chasing Labels. Thanks, everybody, for sticking around, listening to us. We had a pretty good crowd tonight. Listening, and everybody, thanks for the comments. Thanks for participating. We love it. Of course, if you haven't watched or listened to this yet, you'll be able to get the audio version a day later. So watch out for that tomorrow. And as we said at the beginning of the show, next Monday we will have Tony Meachus on here, the unwatched pile. I believe it's our number 11 of that. And if you haven't seen it yet, we do have a new series of videos we started called Movies Down Memory Lane. Where we're like kind of delving into some of our favorite artists in film and cinema history. And we've started with Jim Carrey. We did his comedies in the first video. We'll be having the other two parts to that of that Jim Carrey part coming out soon. We have his kind of blockbuster work and then his dramas that we're going to do videos on here coming up in the next couple months. So watch out for them. And yeah, anything else we want to plug before we head out of here?
No, I think we have an interview up that you just posted a couple of days ago with who was it, Steven?
David McKenzie.
Okay, I couldn't remember which McKenzie it was.
We did this interview literally months and months ago, and I just never got around to editing it. I wish I'd have got it out earlier, but it's one of them things where you just sometimes this needed a lot of editing work, and it's one of them things where it just never got done. And finally, I got it out. We literally both look different. Like I have like a bigger beard, my hair's longer. Like it's from months and months ago. So, but I think it turned out fine. You know, a lot of nerdy talk between Andrew and David about encoding and authoring discs and just things I knew nothing about.
Gotcha.
So, but I think
ironically, it's super important now when it comes to everyone talking about the James Cameron films that just got 4K releases.
Yeah,
and everyone's talking super techy about the way those movies look on disc and stuff.
Yep. Yeah. So it's definitely it's a little aged somewhat, but not really. So please go check out that interview with David McKenzie from Fidelity in Motion, who authors tons the discs that you watch. So, but that is it for Spy number 135. Thanks everybody for listening and watching. If you want to get the audio for this, please go over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and probably a lot of other places you can find it. Thanks again, guys. And hey, keep on watching them movies.
I know I will.